The look from the defensive backfield position, and the little guy there in white is who you need to pay attention to, because unfortunately on this particular play, Winky throws to no one, right into the hands of the A&M player, but it dropped. Also unfortunate for Florida State, Chris had 6 of those last week which weren't dropped, and therefore the questions about how is he going to respond.
Duke, there are questions surrounding that program. So far, many of them have been answered very positively. They are 2-0 for the first time since the '94 season when they went to the Hall of Fame Bowl.
And one of the reasons is number 2, Scotty Montgomery for Duke, who has had an outstanding first 2 games. And remember, Mike, he caught 6 passes, including a 61-yard touchdown pass against Florida State last year. So everyone will keep their eye from the defensive standpoint for Florida State on number 2 there.
There's a lot of excitement here in Doak Campbell Stadium, and for more on that, let's go down to the field and check in with Tom Block.
Thanks, guys. I tell you what, Seminole Saturday night, you can't beat it. This is the way the Florida State tradition was founded. Night games here at Doak Campbell Stadium. The crowd revved up. The team appears to be also. You talk about that Duke offense. Well, defensively, Florida State is healthier this week than they have been. They've got Tommy Pauly back. Brian Allen could go if he had to. Larry Smith will not be back in there, but Seminoles are ready for some Saturday night football here. And when we come back to Doak Campbell, we'll set the time here in 1998.
Seminoles football on Sunshine Network is brought to you in part by Nokia, connecting people. Tonight on Sunshine Network, 8,000 strong here at Doak Campbell Stadium. Duke has won the toss, and they have elected to receive the football first here this evening. Sebastian Janikowski will put the football in play. Scotty Montgomery and Richmond Flowers, number 22, back deep to receive for Duke.
As you look at this Florida State kickoff coverage team, Janikowski with 8 kicks into the end zone. Well, Duke with no return so far, Mike.
There's another good boot in the end zone, and Montgomery will stay right there. Duke will start at the 20-yard line. The Duke quarterback is Spencer Romine, a sophomore from Pullman, Alabama. Romine was not healthy 1 year ago when these two teams faced off. So Romine gets the call at quarterback. B.J. Hill, the freshman tailback, will start. Number 32 and Richmond Flowers, a man who did also not play last year against Florida State. The offensive line led by the senior Lenny Friedman, and quickly they go to the air, breaking not 1 but 2 tackles. It's Scotty Montgomery. It's a first down for the Blue Devils.
Duke immediately going to a big play guy against this Florida State defense led by number 92, Jerry Johnson there in the middle. Corey Simon stepping up for the injured Larry Smith. The linebacker group, as we'll develop, a little bit banged up, Mike, but they've played very well. Tommy Pauly back in starting action. There's your defense. Mario Edwards starting ahead of Troy Saunders.
A gain of 12 on first down. And for the first time tonight, the Duke Blue Devils run the football a gain of 3 yards on the carry by the big fullback the tailback number 32, B.J. Hill.
Hill, just a freshman, actually a true freshman, came to camp in the fall as a defensive back. 5'11", 200 pounds. He's their leading rusher, 180 yards through the first 2 ball games. He's given them some outstanding action out of the backfield along with Wilkes. They got quite a tandem back there.
2nd and 7 from the 35. Seminoles showing blitz. Everyone up on the front line. Romine, the quick hit over the middle. He completes the pass. And inside Florida State territory, Richmond Flowers makes the reception. A gain of 20 yards for Duke.
Duke going with a quick hitter, 5 wide out. Richmond Flowers inside the left. You're going to see pressure by Florida State up the middle. Everybody up close. 11 people on the line of scrimmage. Just drops back, does Romine. Hits him right in front of Tay Cody. Cody with a difficult time bringing him down. Another look at it from the end zone. There's nothing fancy here. Just one-on-one football. That time Duke executes.
Duke, again, they go to the ground and no gain for B.J. Hill, the tailback. The stop made by Florida State's Lamont Green, number 45.
Lamont appears to be shaken up there, Mike, as we look at him. He's been nicked all during the spring, all during the first two games. Randy Orvitz, the trainer for Florida State, out with some of his people.
Now, the entire linebacking core is one that is not at 100%. As they attend to Lamont Green, we will step aside. Duke moving the ball early on their first possession. Now, Lamont Green, the senior linebacker and the leader of the linebacking core, steps off the football field. And Duke moving the football early.
Lamont appears to have been gotten in the eye, even though he has that visor, that protective shield on, Mike. Apparently somebody got a hand in there.
2nd and 10. From the 45 of Florida State. In motion goes Hill. Movement at the line, and the flags will drop. Jerry Johnson steps over the line for Florida State. The question, was he drawn off?
Jerry pointing to himself. He knows he did it. You'll see him right there, right at the very top of below your screen. Nobody moving. He just jumps to count. You often wonder, Mike, how a defensive lineman, particularly a tackle so close to the football, could jump off sides when they're coached to watch the football, but that's the tension and the anxiety that you have to build up, particularly there on the defensive line, Corey Simon and Jerry there. And sometimes you just jump.
2nd and 5 now. From the 40-yard line. Same play, it appears. Hill in motion again. Romine, a quick drop. Almost intercepted. Nearly picked off by Dexter Jackson. And if he would have grabbed the football, he would have been gone.
Jackson just named as on the fourth watch list. 6'1", 195-pound senior out of Quincy, about 20 miles from Tallahassee. You'll see right now they're going back again with that quick-hitting stuff. Jackson, knowing they've got to get through the ball quickly, gets back in. Lamont Green checking back in for Florida State. Big 3rd down and about 5.
Single back set. Latavius Wilkes in the backfield. Montgomery comes to the near side in motion. Romine nails Montgomery. He is nailed immediately. Tackle made on the play by Mario Edwards, short of the first down yardage.
Mario starting ahead of Troy Saunders, has had 2 great games in the A&M and the North Carolina State game. Here he is isolated on the outside receiver. Montgomery is coming across in motion. He's going to be right in front of Mario. He dodges the block right there, gets upfield quickly, and is able to stop Montgomery short of the first down marker. Excellent play by Mario Edwards.
Got a single man back to receive this punt from Florida State. Brian Morton, the sophomore.
They clock down to 5. They may take the penalty here.
Give him a little more room to try to dice it inside the 10-yard line. Yep. Try to get Brian Morton, the sophomore from Winter Haven, a little longer space to work.
Steve Feaster's going to check in now, and Dexter Jackson come out. Florida State will now put in the return. Interestingly, as we see the referee here, Robin Wood, makes a call.
Delay on the offense. The penalty is declined. 4th down.
Gamesmanship. Little cat and mouse going there. Fred Goldsmith, the head coach at Duke University. Interestingly enough, Mike, Duke opponents only average 5.7 yards per punt return. Florida State with both Steve Feaster and Peter Warwick well over 10. Interesting matchup.
Special teams has been average at best so far for the Seminoles. Here's the kick. Fair catch signaled for near the 10-yard line. Feaster and Florida State will start at their own 11-yard line. A 25-yard punt for Brian Morton. And a good reaction here from the home fans for the entry of Chris Weinke.
And this is what Chris Weinke needs, Mike, is the ability to know that this crowd is behind him. He got a little down on himself, had private meetings on at least 2 occasions, and needs to get back into it as we look at the FSU offense led by Travis Minor there at tailback.
First down play for Weinke. Deep inside Florida State territory. A little confusion in the backfield, and it will be a loss of 2 or 3 yards. The offensive line, and Ross Brannon, the sophomore, is one that has been unproven, but has been very good in the first 2 games for Florida State. A loss of 4 yards on first down.
You talk to the Florida State offensive coaches, they'll tell you the offensive line did improve from the A&M game to the North Carolina State game. They have been pleased with their progress, as you see Winky's numbers on the season.
Winky faces 2nd and 14. Single back set. Winky hands it off. Travis Minor up to the 12-yard line, still on his feet, and finally pulled down on the play by Duke number 27, Kevin Lewis, the freshman outside linebacker. Defensively, Chris Combs is a man to watch on the defensive front. One of the career leaders in tackles for loss for the Duke Blue Devils. Ryan Stallmeyer, one of the key linebackers, and in the defensive backfield, Lamar Grant, the right cornerback from Jackson, a top threat who will see a lot of Peter Warwick this evening. 4 wide receiver set for the Seminoles. Dugans, one of the receivers on the near side of the football field. 3rd and 10. And Stallmeyer immediately in the backfield and hits Travis Minor between the numbers, and Florida State will be forced to punt after a loss of 6 yards.
Florida State very conservative in their play calling here. You'll see a draw action from the shotgun. Stallmeyer on a stunt right up the middle. The 6'1", 230-pound junior right there in your screen. Just gets across Ross Brannon, who we just talked about, and is able to make the stop in the backfield, putting Florida State in a punt situation.
Keith Cottrell from his own end zone. It is blocked. The kick was blocked by Duke. And the Blue Devils are going to have excellent field position. Clark came in and made the big special teams play for the Blue Devils. Darius Clark from down the road in Tampa. And the Blue Devils will start from the 7-yard line.
The fact that Darius Clark bucked that kick should not be of a surprise to Florida State coaches. He had one earlier this year. You'll see him lay out. Cottrell backed up against the end line. Great extension by Clark, able to put his 2nd block kick in the record book for 1998.
Keith Cottrell had only 1 block all of last year. From the 7. Romine, quick hit, over the middle, complete. And dragged down at the 1-yard line by Tay Cody. Scotty Montgomery with the reception for Duke.
Again, you see Duke going with the spread offense. Wide receivers, only 1 or no backs. Quick drops by Romine to keep the Florida State pressure off of him. Man-to-man coverage down here in the red zone by Florida State. It's just one-on-one. Who's going to get the ball?
From the 1-yard line, Latavius Wilkes in motion. Romine on the keeper, going absolutely nowhere. Flags on the field.
Offsides against Florida State, the preliminary indication. That happens when you line up offside. Not the turn of events.
Offside, half the distance to the goal, repeat 2nd down.
Not the turn of events Coach Bowden wanted with about 7 minutes gone here in the first quarter.
No fullback again. Wilkes, the lone setback. Romine checks off. They give to Wilkes, and he cannot get over the top. Stuffed by the defensive front of the Seminoles, led by Demetro Stevens.
Stevens, one of the 3, now 4 captains named by Coach Bowden. Number 52 there, number 6'3", 236-pound senior, right in the heart of the point of attack. A lot of help from some other garnet jerseys. He's had 2 good games so far this year, hoping to add to it.
3rd and goal. Touchdown, Blue Devils. Latavius Wilkes sucked under 2 Seminole defenders, and the Blue Devils have scored first.
Good reaction by Wilkes as he got down on the end zone, seeing 2 Florida State defenders. All he has to do is get that ball across that end zone line. He doesn't have to make a spectacular run.
Sims Lenhart in for the point after. And the kick is good, his 33rd straight PAT. And the Duke Blue Devils, with 8:08 remaining here in the first quarter, have the early lead on the homestanding Seminoles. So the Duke Blue Devils take advantage of a big play on the special teams, the block punt, and they score on the run by Latavius Wilkes.
You know, Florida State last week, Mike gave up a touchdown return, punt return for a touchdown. A lot of extra emphasis this time during the week on punt coverage. One has to wonder, did maybe that lead a little bit to people leaving too early, wanting to get out too quick, get to their lanes too fast, and therefore allowing Clark to get through and block that punt back up in the end zone.
Let's check downstairs with Tom Block.
Guys, before the game, Bobby Bowden usually speaks to his team for about 5 minutes, and the whole locker room is quiet. Well, before today's game, during that time, Dexter Jackson got up and spoke for about a minute or two, trying to be extremely vocal and be a leader. As you can see, though, it hasn't worked out so far tonight, but Dexter Jackson, a senior, trying to take that step. The defense wasn't helped out by the special teams play. Back upstairs.
No question, a 3-play, 7-yard drive took 1 minute and 26 seconds. Capped off by the Wilkes touchdown run of just a single yard after the blocked punt. So Lenhart will kick off, and as it was a year ago, Duke leads 7-0. Florida State, marred by mistakes a year ago in Durham, North Carolina, gave Duke the belief that they might be able to win the football game, then ended up with a sizable victory. Nonetheless, the animosity continues for the boys in Tallahassee. Low kick. And it rolls through the end zone, and Florida State will start on their own 20-yard line. If you are a Florida State Seminole, a la Chris Wenke, you've waited all week to get back on the football field so good things could happen, and now you find yourself down 7-0. What's going through your mind?
Well, the first thing you've got to do right now, you've got to get a first down. It doesn't matter how you do it. You can run the ball, pass the ball, I don't care. The first thing this Florida State offense has to do is get a first down on this series. Very, very key, very, very important. They cannot be 3 and out again this time.
Chris Wenke, Bobby Bowden said last week, may have been a bit overloaded, so they will try to pound the football on the ground more, a la Steve Feaster and Travis Minor tonight. Eric Scanlon, the nose guard, makes the stop for Duke, but not until a gain of 6 or 7 yards for Travis Minor.
Scanlon, very much a key player in that 3-man front for the Duke Blue Devils. Deep handoff to Minor, backed up, trying to get some more room. Clark in on the tackle.
2nd and 4, and Minor again will be just short of the first down yardage. Lamalier and Darius Clark in to make the stop on Travis Minor. The offensive line has been pretty good, and Darius Clark hopes that he is not having to be forced to move up into the front and stop a good Florida State run attack throughout the evening.
Clark, just a junior, starting his 21st straight game right there.
Seminoles should get the first down here. They have run the football now 3 straight times. It was talked about all week long by Mark Richt and the coaching staff. The potential fact that Wenke was a bit overloaded last week. Bobby Bowden talked about that particular factor, and that they would like to try to establish maybe more of a running game starting this season.
Very much so. Both of those key elements. When Wenke went to the line against North Carolina State last week, he had up to 60 audibles that he could call. This time it's going to be down to about 10. You see Coach Bowden's record there after a loss in the Bowden era, 24-10-2. The last back-to-back losses, 7-8 years ago.
1991. Wenke, play action. Big pressure on. Football on the ground. Thankfully recovered by Carlos Thomas, the sophomore offensive tackle, but Krill will get credit for the sack. Nate Krill, number 83, the sophomore from McLean, Virginia, in quickly on Chris Wenke.
Krill Blake 3 right there up the middle. Wenke with nowhere for the ball to go, but he shouldn't lay it down. That's one of the things they also wanted to talk to Wenke about, as you see Stallmeyer in there, number 44 as well. You've got to be able to wrap that ball up, hold that ball, either when you're flushed out of the pocket or when you're fixing to take a sack. Don't commit turnovers.
Loss of 11, 2nd and 21. Wenke from the gun. Good protection. Dumps it off to Travis Minor. Makes a great move up to the 31-yard line and hauled down there by Mike Steinball. from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Florida State continuing to go with the conservative type plays, the draws, the screens. This time you'll see a good look at it. Minor starts out on the right side, the left side, then comes back through. Got a couple of escorts up in front of him, does a good job of picking up the penalty, and they're now sitting back about 3rd and 9, original line of scrimmage a play ago.
12-yard gain. Minor still in the backfield. Shotgun formation again. Duke pressure comes. 20, fires it. Complete. And around the corner for the first down and pushed out of bounds. A great effort after making the catch by Lavernius Coles and a Florida State first down.
Coles with only one reception last week against NC State. He went for 62 yards. Suspended for the first game of the year against A&M. While pleased with the catch, one of the things Coach Jeff Bowden, the receivers coach, will tell Lavernius is when you make that catch, don't give up ground on 3rd down. Make sure you get that first down. Fortunate that time, but not the way you want to have it.
So Coles gets the first down, and Florida State with a little breathing room here. On the 45-yard line. Minor around the right side. Breaks 1, 2, maybe 3 tackles. And finally run down by Darius Clark with help from Ryan Stallmeyer. A gain of 6 yards on first down for Travis Minor.
Some building of the confidence here, Mike, getting a little bit more into what they want to do, does Florida State in their running attack and their game plan. Offensive line continuing to perform, giving Travis those little creases in there. I tell you, we talk about the comparison all the time to Warrick Dunn. Travis is going to make a name for himself.
Now, Duke's defense has been pretty good so far in the early part of the season against the run. Florida State will try to establish it tonight, but not here. Wenke in and out of the hands of Peter Warrick. It'll go incomplete. We've got a football or a flag on the far side of the field. Coverage on the play by Todd DeLamielleure, the freshman inside linebacker from Durham.
As we get the preliminary signal here, holding against Florida State. That particular pass play, Mike, very reminiscent of something Mark Richt mentioned to us yesterday. That being, Wenke has such a strong arm that sometimes he actually throws the ball too hard. You see it right here, just throws that ball with such velocity that Mark Richt was talking about how the receivers were catching it out in front of them, and it was literally throwing their hands back into their body.
10 yards from the spot of the foul and receive 2nd down.
That time the ball with just a little bit too much heat on it, right on the target. But a little bit too much juice. Warwick should catch it, but it makes it for a very difficult catch.
And it led to an interception 1 week ago, as you mentioned. One of the unfortunate 6 for number 16. So a 2nd and 5 awaits the Seminoles. Myron Jackson checks into the game. 2nd and 16, pardon me, after the flag. Jackson, the senior tight end, replacing the ever so popular Melvin Pearson. Wenke again works from the gun. Gives it to Travis Minor. Minor right side has some good luck. Minor still on his feet. Inside the 40. Down to the 30. Still on his feet. And inbounds. Touchdown Seminoles. But it will be called back. He stepped out of bounds. The indication just inside the 20-yard line. Nonetheless, a great run by Travis Minor.
And certainly something the Florida State faithful and the Florida State coaches, including Bobby Bowden, wanted to see. Until this particular run, Mike, the longest run from scrimmage has been 15 yards. We'll get a look at it here. Nothing fancy. Back left to right, a little crease. Minor doing a great job of running out of one-arm tackle there. And watching on Jones, number 23, good stiff arm right up to the face mask. The officials rule him out on the 24, but not before Minor picks up good yardage. End zone look, good blocking at the point of attack. Wide receivers down there. Dugan's doing a good job, and then Minor finds that sideline. You get a look at it here. That right foot right on the white. Good call by the officials, but Florida State in business at the Duke 24-yard line.
A 38-yard run for Travis Minor. Florida State trying to tie this game at 7. For more insight into the Seminoles and sports in Florida, click on SunshineNetwork.com, offering news, notes, and opinions by some of the state's best sports columnists and reporters. SunshineNetwork.com, your web source for Florida sports. On the field, Tom Block.
Mike, you know, one of the things Mark Richt wanted to see out of his running game was better open field running. They had some good runs from the line of scrimmage, but not downfield. Already we saw Travis Minor break free with some good moves down the field.
From the 23, this time it's Steve Feaster around the right side, and Feaster forced out of bounds by DeLamielleure.
Feaster seeing more and more playing time, had no carries against A&M, had 4 exceptional runs against North Carolina State. Every third series, they will try to get Feaster in. He's in this time because giving Travis Minor a little break after that long run.
Steve Feaster, ironically, in the 1995 meeting against Duke, had a career-high 91 yards on 12 carries. So Feaster gains 3, and it's 2nd and 7. 4:01 remaining in the first. Florida State trails 7-0. I formation. 2 wide outs to the near side. And they bang it up the middle, close to the first down yardage.
Mark Glenn on the carry there. 6'1", 235-pound senior. You know, again, talking to the Florida State staff, they've been very pleased with the play of the fullback. Glenn, Willie McCrary, who sees it play a little bit later, and, of course, Billy Rhodes, who keeps moving from offense to defense, is over on the defense for tonight. But good play out of the Florida State fullbacks, even though they don't have any carries. They're very key in the running attack and the blocking team.
3rd and 2. The pitch to Feaster. Cuts it back. And he is going to be very close, but he may still be short of the first down yardage.
No hesitation by Coach Bowden and the staff. They immediately call on Janikowski. You know, 3 different times last week in the red zone against NC State. 2nd and 3rd down interceptions, not times you would normally put the field goal unit in, but 3 opportunities for him. And, of course, there's Sebastian in there. Nothing's a sure bet, but he's pretty close.
And he certainly is. Sebastian Janikowski, perfect 3 for 3 on the season. With a 33-yard attempt, they fake it. Outzen is the holder. Outzen comes near side, incomplete. Marcus Outzen, the holder for Janikowski, the backup quarterback, tried to come to the near side of the football field and get the football into the hands of Ryan Sprague.
High snap maybe gave it away a little bit, but also Duke very well schooled. No one leaving parting players without someone shadowing them. You'll see right here on the left-hand side, watch the block down, and then the receiver would try to release. Duke defender's right with him. Outzen does overthrow it, but good reaction by the Duke special teams.
Pardon me, that was William McCray, the man you just spoke of a moment ago, on the special teams, trying to make a big play. Nonetheless, Duke gets the football. Florida State, no points. Romine dumps it off to the big tight end, number 89, Terrence Dupree, who was finally hauled down on the play by Tommy Pauly.
Both Dupree and Mike Hart, the backup tight end, are active in this Duke offense. 6 catches in the first 3 games between the 2 of them. There you see Terrence's individual statistics.
A gain of 9 brings up a 2nd and 1 for the Blue Devils. Romine looking for the quick hit. Mano a mano. Good coverage on the play by Kay Cody. The intended receiver was Richmond Flowers, the sophomore from Birmingham.
Flowers, the speedster. He can really get up and get down the field. Tay Cody, not too slow in his own right. Coach Andrews talking about the 3 aspects of pass coverage, Mike. The release, getting some contact, the actual route, which Florida State DBs have done well with, and then the 3rd part is fighting for the ball, which he wants to see improvement in tonight.
3rd and 1. Romine keeps it himself. Did his offensive line give enough of a push? I don't think so. A lot of Garnett jerseys in there, including big number 58, Jamal Reynolds.
He's going to be short. The line judge on this side has got it marked inside the 25. He needed to get about 25 and a half. And Florida State defense getting a standing ovation from this partisan crowd. 3 and out.
Duke came in doing a fairly good job on 3rd down, especially short yardage situations, but the defense comes up with a strong effort there. Brian Morton to punt it away. D. Feaster set up at about the 37-yard line of the Seminoles. Low snap, handled neatly by Morton. Short kick, taken at the 42. Feaster with speed, inside Duke territory, and he'll go from 42 to 42. A 32-yard kick and a good return for D. Feaster. A 36-yard return for Feaster. Or pardon me, 16-yard return. So Wanky comes in with good field position for which to work.
Starting this series, Miner with 7 carries for 43 yards. Utilizing the run, Coach Bowden, in order to set up the pass.
High formation set. Warwick on the near side. Play action. Wanky pumps it over the middle. Almost completed. It bounced in front of the intended receiver, Ron Dugan, who had a fairly close double team of white jerseys on him.
Very deep post route. Winky started to throw it a little too early. You're seeing some maturity there, Mike. He started to throw it a little too early, held up one count, underthrew the ball, but you've got to be pleased with his decision there because he was giving Dugan time to separate as he moved across the field. Just underthrew it.
Warwick on the near side, Dugan's on the far side. I formation set. On 2nd and 10 with 53 seconds left in the quarter. Travis Miner skips up inside the 40-yard line. He is gang tackled there. Todd Delamolier in again for the Duke Blue Devils. Tom Block.
Mike, you know Florida State was held scoreless the last 3 quarters last week, and now they're less than a minute from going another quarter. That'd be 4 straight quarters, and the last time they were shut out 4 consecutive quarters, 1988, when they lost 31-zip to Miami. So they got to get the offense back on the same page here and get things going. Mike?
Believe it or not, Tom, they're the number 2 ranked offense in the ACC, despite their 0-1 conference record. The number 1 offense in the ACC is also here tonight. That's Duke. An important 3rd and 8 for Wanky. And it goes incomplete. Intended receiver was Peter Warwick. There was good pressure coming from the Duke outside linebacker Kevin Lewis, and Warwick was also tightly defended on the play.
Not a good sequence right there, Mike. Warwick not deep enough to get the first down. Winky missing the throw. Florida State close, but still not clicking in order to make things happen.
Now Lewis may have pressured Wanky to get rid of the ball a little earlier than he would have liked to. So Keith Cattrall will be on to punt for the 2nd time tonight for the Seminoles. He has not been great at pinning opponents back inside the 10-yard line. If anywhere Keith would like to improve, it would be in that particular category. And this kick is short. Fielded at the 15 and held on to there by the return man of the Duke Blue Devils, Ronnie Hamilton. So time has expired here in the 1st quarter, and so what Tom mentioned is now true. 4 scoreless quarters for Florida State. Duke scored once, and that is our score after 15. We welcome you back to Doak Campbell Stadium, the home opener for 1998. Bobby Bowden, 20-2 in his 10 years as the head coach in home openers. The Seminoles have won 8 straight. Their last loss in a home opener, 1989 game to Clemson. In case you are wondering, the other loss in the Bowden era on a home opener, 1997 to the Miami Hurricanes. Mike Goldberg, Keith Jones, Tom Block. Happy you are with us here on Sunshine Network. We are absolutely thrilled to be bringing you all the home games this year of the Florida State Seminoles. On 1st down, trouble in the backfield for Latavius Wilkes. Leading the way for Florida State is number 15, Mario Edwards.
You know, before the game, kind of milling around talking with some of the Florida State people, Mike, they mentioned without fail the disappointment and now anger of the Florida State defense and how poorly they played last week, giving up the big play, wanting to redeem themselves. We're seeing some hungry people going after some folks right now.
Loss of 2, 2nd and 12. Movement by Duke. And that'll march the Blue Devils back 5 yards. How good is Duke? I guess that's a question that will be answered.
Offense, 5 yards for 2 downs.
As we continue through the season, Keith, but I can tell you one thing. They return no less than 48 lettermen and 16 starters.
You see the left-hand side of your screen, the offensive tackle for Duke. Austin Smithwick moving there.
17-yard margin down needed for 1st down. Romine knocked down at the line.
Rolling seam Seymour, number 56 for Florida State, got his 6'4" frame extended. Again, Duke coming with that quick drop. Watch Romine just kind of sprint out 2 or 3 steps. Seymour gets that big right hand up and just bats it right back down in the ground. You know, these defensive ends for Florida State, a great tradition, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. Coaches wanting more out of them in this particular game than in any time. Tony Bryant, Seymour, the starters, Warren, and Reynolds, the backup.
3rd and 17. Pressure again. And Romine is sacked. Near the goal line, Tony Bryant was in amongst his teammates. And a loss of 10 yards on the play.
Deion Humphrey in there on pressure from his linebacker position. Florida State coming with a lot of folks. You'll see it, watch it right up the middle. Bryant with a good push there on the right-hand side, and then Humphrey there to mop up. Duke now backed up, and of course what you want is about 14 yards on the punt, and they're going to be backed up at their 1-yard line, only given 11 yards there for Brian Morton to get this ball off. Remember, Florida State in the same situation last quarter.
Peter Warren set up at the 40-yard line of Duke to receive this punt. A big play guy hoping for a big play. Good hang time on the kick. Warwick from the 37. Around the left side. Warwick inside the 25-yard line of the Blue Devils. A 36-yard punt by Brian Morton from deep inside his own end zone.
Warwick 10th in the country in punt returns, averaging 17.7 yards before that one. Florida State in good shape at the Duke 24-yard line.
So the Seminoles again with good field position for which to try to tie this game at 7. Just underway here in the second quarter of play. Glenn and Minor in the backfield. That's Steve Feaster, 33. And he will gain 3 yards on first down, bring up a 2nd and 8.
Again, Florida State wanting to get that rotation in. Typically, they'll go 2 series with Minor, 1 series with Feaster.
Gannon Shepard with the tackle of D. Feaster. Back to the offense this year, the senior from Rock Hill, South Carolina. 2nd and 8. Football spotted at the 22-yard line of the Blue Devils. Near side, Warren gets it at the 25. Steps back once, twice. Now he retreats. It could be trouble, though. But Warren's got great speed. He gets a block. Now around the left side. And finally pushed out of bounds at the 18-yard line. All that work for a gain of 5 yards.
About 90 yards of effort, about 5 yards of it vertical, the rest of it from side to side. A quick screen, 2 Duke defenders right here on Warwick. Good pressure up the middle. Warwick just does a backward step and then keeps working his way back to the left, back to the left, back to the left, but he's given up ground, Mike. This is feast or famine. Only someone with the talent of a Warwick can pull it off. It's certainly not something you coach.
Got a good block in there from Myron Jackson, the senior tight end, and finally Lamar Grant forced him out of bounds. 3rd down, 4 to go, and Wanke wants to come to the sideline and talk about it. We will step aside with 12:19 remaining here in the second quarter, and Duke still leading the Seminoles 7-0. 4 for the Seminoles after the timeout. Thomas to the line. The offense follows. Duke leads 7-0. Dugan's on the near side at wide receiver. Play action. Looking towards Dugan. End zone. Did he come in bounds? No. Dugan thought he had received it in bounds. The referee signals out of bounds. Lamar Grant was step for step with Ron Dugans on that play defensively for the Blue Devils.
Grant, the best cover guy for Duke, one-on-one with Dugan. He certainly makes the catch. I'm not sure about dragging the feet, whether the feet hit before the back. We'll see it in slow motion here. Oh, folks, that's a touchdown.
Nonetheless, the officials make the call, and it brings on Sebastian Janikowski. Last time, they faked the field goal attempt. It was an unsuccessful fake from Marcus Houston. Janikowski, a 35-yard field goal attempt. His kick is up, and the Noles are on the board. Janikowski good from 35. And the Duke lead is cut. It is 7-3. And Janikowski is 4 for 4 on the year.
Let's get another look at this touchdown pass not called. Winky with a good drop, throws the ball up. Dugans clearly makes the catch, and as we saw on the replay earlier before the break, he did get the 1 foot down, but the official right on top of it, and that's why it's a game. You got to play it.
So 7-3 on the 35-yard field goal by Sebastian Janikowski. Caps off the 4-play drive that took just over 1 minute and 6 seconds. Tom Block.
Mike, the scoring draft's finally over for Florida State. That's the first points FSU has scored in the second quarter all year, and it's the first points that Duke has allowed. So pivotal play here in the second quarter, and FSU finally put some points on the board.
Believe it or not, the Florida State team outscored 14-0 in the second quarter of the games in weeks 1 and 2. There's a big boot by Janikowski through and out of the end zone. So the second touchback of the night off a big boomer from Sebastian Janikowski. So Duke will go back on the offensive, led by Spencer Romine. Remember 1 year ago, the 51-27 Florida State victory. Romine had already been injured. Bobby Campbell was knocked out in the first quarter, and third-string quarterback Kevin Thompson led the way. Romine is a young man, just a sophomore. And the play whistle down, flags on the field. But Romine from Coleman, Alabama, did have a good contest last week against Northwestern.
Dead ball prior to the snap. False start. Offense. 5 yards.
As you see Coach Bowden there, you'll see a very interesting statistic, and Tom Block brought it out. In 1989, after 2 games, Florida State had been outscored 64-49. After 2 games here in 98, 38-30. And that got extended in 1989. Florida State, for the only time in the 90s, outscored after 3 games, and if you include 89 into that 90 span.
So 1st and 15 for Romine. Tries the quick hitter again. That is thrown up for grab. Intercepted! Sean Key with the interception. He's still on his feet. And he finally steps out of bounds at the 17-yard line. What a great block on the play by Tony Bryant. Florida State with the interception, and that ball was simply thrown up for grabs.
Good pressure by Bryant. Sean Key just playing halves, the near half. You'll have a look at it there on the left-hand side of your screen. Bryant unblocked. Key, number 18, back there in the halves, makes a good job. The officials are going to rule his forward progress down at the Duke 30-yard line. You know, Mike, both Sean Key and Mario Ledruz missed all of 1997. They're new players, as it were, here for 98. Edwards moving into a starting position. Key, one of the key people in the nickel defense. Both of them with big plays here in the first half.
So good field position for the Seminoles, trailing 7-3. 11:46 remains in the quarter. Winky looking for it all. Peter Warrick, end zone, touchdown! No flag. 30-yard touchdown reception for Peter Warrick. Of the year thrown by Wanky. Warrick's 15th career touchdown reception. The point after by Janikowski. And the Noles lead 10-7. Peter Warrick, mano a mano, gives Florida State the lead. Warrick moves up in the record books, and Florida State leads by 3. So Chris Wanky throws the touchdown pass to Peter Warrick of 30 yards, in the Seminoles now lead 10-7. The connection of the game is brought to you by Nokia, connecting people.
Nothing fancy here. Warwick with a straight fly pattern just gets a little bit behind Grant, and a great throw by Chris Winkie. Watch that ball just settle right down in there in the old breadbasket. Pete from 30 yards out. Nice play.
Warwick now tying Jackie Flowers for 12th on the all-time list. 4 touchdown receptions with the 15th touchdown of his career. Janikowski set to kick it off again. Janikowski has put a lot of footballs in the end zone. Already 2 tonight. 8 for 8 on his kickoffs into the end zone. Now 10 for 10. Not this one, though. And it is fielded on the 4-yard line by Richmond Flowers. Flowers, a good return, gets some blocks. Out to the 25, breaks a couple of tackles, and finally gets, with a well-deserved effort, out to the 32-yard line. A 25-yard return by Richmond Flowers.
You mentioned it earlier, but Duke with no official kickoff returns in their first 2 ball games. That's the first one. Flowers does it for about 32.
Flowers, yes, the son of the Richmond Flowers. Featured in that Sports Illustrated article a few years ago, number 22 in the white jersey. Richmond's dad, an All-American at Tennessee, played for the Cowboys and the New York Giants, and he is one of Spencer Romine's favorite targets. We mentioned Duke offensively did everything they wanted to do last week in that 44-10 win against Northwestern. See what they can establish here in the second quarter against Florida State. For Noles fans, hopefully not much. Pressure from the backside. Romine avoids it, hits Flowers, and he is brought down by Mario Edwards. 6-yard gain on first down on the reception by Richmond Flowers.
Flowers number 1 on the team coming into tonight. 12 catches for 230 yards. Field level look at it. You're going to see people behind Simon and Seymour in pursuit. Romine doing a good job of spinning out to the offense's right. You can see his numbers, 5 for 8, only the 1 pick. Doing a good job of rolling out to his right and getting the ball into the receiver's hands to avoid that Florida State pressure.
Corey Simon in for the injured Larry Smith with good pressure a moment ago. Brings up a 2nd and 4. Wilkes in motion to the far side. They give it to the big fullback, Dawood Rashid, the senior from Birmingham, the former Alabama Mr. Football, and he is close to a Blue Devil first down.
Rashid, the senior in that backfield. Folks not terribly pleased with his play last year. He kind of took it to heart, came back to camp this summer after the summer workouts in the fall in the best shape of his career. Last year, 78 carries for 321 yards for the senior.
Well, Duke averaging 439 yards of total offense for their first 2 games. 3rd and a long one. Romine tucks it. It's going to go incomplete. We have seen very often, even in a short yardage situation, the Duke offense go to that quick hit without a man in the backfield.
Spreading everybody out, 5 receivers, quote-unquote, in the pattern, but oftentimes what you're doing is throwing to one side of the field or the other. The rest are decoys. You're reading what happens. That time Romaine, with no one to throw to, literally throws it away. Duke forced the punt.
Ryan Morton punt football for the Blue Devils. Peter Warwick set at the 20-yard line of the Seminoles. Good driving kick. Fielded at the 16 by D. Feaster. Feaster, a flag is down. He's still on his feet at the 47-yard line. Breaks another tackle. Feaster cuts back, gets a block. Inside the 30, to the 20, and finally hauled down on the play by Duke's Eric Jones. But there are multiple flags on the field back at the 22-yard line of the Seminoles. A 45-yard punt and a big return. But it may be all for naught.
A lot of excitement. Florida State matching up with men, holding men up at the line of scrimmage. Feaster getting the ball off of Morton's foot. You're going to see him work to the offense's left, his right, pick up his picket, and then cut through with a shoot. There you see the block in the back there against number 10 for Duke. And it creates a lot of excitement. We'll continue to roll it, but it all goes for naught. Florida State will be back on about a 20-yard line or a little bit behind.
During the return, holding on the receiving team, 10-yard penalty, first down.
We are starting to see the skill players of this Florida State team, though, still, albeit that one was called back keep, separate themselves from the bunches, which is what the Noles have been able to do this entire decade.
Jeff Bowden communicating there with Winky before sending him in. Mark Rick up here in the booth right beside us, sending the plays down. Florida State will be backed up on about the 13-yard line as they start this drive.
Ironically, Duke coming into today had outscored their opponents 37-0 in the second quarter. They've been outscored 10-0 so far by the Seminoles here tonight. Florida State starts on their own 13. Winky with time, wires it up towards Poles, and he cannot get under the football. Poles had his man beat, and the football just thrown a bit too far for the speedy Lavernius Poles.
All through the week, folks have been talking with Mark Rick and saying, why didn't you pull Winky? Why didn't you pull Winky? Why didn't you pull Winky? Interception 3, 4, or 5 on into the third quarter. Part of the reason is an exact thing we saw just there. Mark sitting up here last week against North Carolina State, seeing people wide open and Winky just not getting the ball to him. Another example here of Poles open and Winky just unable to deliver, overthrows slightly.
So it brings up a 2nd and 10 for Florida State. Knowles with just 109 total yards so far in the game. Travis Minor, left side. Minor scampering. And he is wrapped up after a gain of 3 yards. Brings up a 3rd and 7. Let's check down on the field with Tom Block.
Guys, one of the things that Jimmy Higgins wanted to do is get some more substitutes in on the offensive line. The first 2 games, they played only the first 5. Well, already they've played 9 players. Otis Duhart is one of the backups that's in there right now, but they've gone 9 deep counting offensive linemen. Mike?
Brannon, Whitaker, Thomas, Carmichael, and Thomas. Carlos and Eric had gone through every snap of the first 2 games, and it's a young, unproven offensive line, but it's one that cannot be criticized too heavily with their efforts through the first 2 contests for Florida State. 3rd and 6 now for the Seminoles. Winky through the hands of his intended receiver on the play. Robert Morgan, the freshman wide receiver out of East Point, Georgia. Darius Clark on the coverage for the Blue Devils, and Florida State forced the punt.
Well, thank you for grading that one, Mike. You give Winky the positive grade, and unfortunately you give Robert the failing grade. That ball was thrown nicely as Morgan was coming out of his break. He did not get his hands up quick enough and was unable to lasso it.
So the 3rd punt of the night for Keith Petrell. Petrell, a low punt. Takes a favorable bounce, but fielded neatly by the return man of the Duke Blue Devils. And wrapped up shortly thereafter was Dwayne Epperson. A 35-yard punt and a 3-yard return. Let's talk Duke for a second, partner. They are 2-0. They have not been 2-0 since their Hall of Fame Bowl year of 1994. They won 2 games all of last year. Granted, week 1 against Western Carolina, not one that you put in the books, but for Freddie Goldsmith, a win at Northwestern, one he's got to be pretty pleased about, especially the fashion in which it happened, the 44-10 final. Romine checks it off, near side, Scotty Montgomery coming towards the sideline. Montgomery near a first down and a gain of just about 10 yards, forced out by Dion Humphrey.
Again, trying to find any way to get Scotty involved in the offense. That time coming all the way across. That ball was literally thrown, as you saw from the sideline, backwards. That is a lateral. That is not a forward pass. Just trying to get Montgomery any way into the offense. With Corkle there on a bad pursuit angle, unable to catch up to Montgomery. Duke converts the first down. You know, you talk about going in and winning that ball game last week. They went into Wheeling, into Northwestern, and win by 34. You just don't do that. Great offensive performance by Duke last week.
The Duke is 2-0. The Seminoles are 1-1. Duke trails. They go up the gut. Dawood Rashid, the big fullback. Tony Bryant makes the stop, the senior defensive end out of Marathon. Let's check back in with Tom downstairs.
Mike, Lamont Green was in on that tackle, too. Green missed a couple of series. Remember, early in the game, he got poked in the eye and came out. He's been complaining about problems with his vision. He missed a couple series, but he was back in there now to help out on that tackle. Back upstairs.
You almost see a bandage there over his right eye, left side as you're looking at it.
2nd and 6 now for the Blue Devils. And the same play, other side, Montgomery with speed. And he is upended after a gain of 3 yards. Mario Edwards again in to help out with the stop for the Seminoles. You know, you talk about Lamont Green. We take a look at this play. We'll hold that thought a moment.
Again, going in motion, but going in short motion. Actually, like Montgomery as a tailback, just trying to get the ball to him. Good tackle, open field tackle by Edwards down there. There you see Lamont helping out.
With limited practice with the knee, not being 100%, it has been tough for Lamont Green to be the type of leader that he wants to be for this football team.
Everyone expected great things out of him. He is a great football player that just has not had great performances yet.
3rd and 4. Romine rolls left. Incomplete. Edwards covered Montgomery. There is a flag on the field.
Romine continues to be harassed and pressured even with that type of rollout action, holding the preliminary indication. But Roland Seymour all over Romine. Watch him coming from the top and then Tony Bryant from the bottom. Florida State in a little bit of predicament here. That was a 3rd down play that goes incomplete. Do you take the play or do you ask for a penalty?
It is declined. It will bring up a 4th down situation. 6:49 remaining here in the first quarter. If you joined us late after a blocked punt, Latavius Wilkes scored the first touchdown of the night, and Duke led 7-0 after the first quarter of play. But Sebastian Janikowski has kicked a 35-yard field goal, and Peter Warwick has a 30-yard touchdown reception as Duke calls timeout here. And the Peter Warwick touchdown came after a Sean Key interception. So we've had a couple of special teams and turnover-type plays that have dictated our early scoring here in the contest tonight. Don't miss the Bobby Bowden Show, Sundays at 12:30, right here on Sunshine. Join Coach Bowden as he reviews each week's game and looks ahead at the Noles' upcoming opponents. The Bobby Bowden Show, Sundays at 12:30 on Sunshine. Coach Bowden saying this week that this team he faces tonight, the best Duke team in quite a while. He also hoped that what happened last week will help his Seminoles. Adversity is a great instrument to teach young men toughness and dealing with downtime.
You know, during the Wednesday conference call, both Bowden and Fred Goldsmith, along with the other ACC coaches, are on the phone for a period of time. And one of the things Fred Goldsmith said that, you know, we talk about the best improvement comes from game 1 to game 2. He said your real improvement comes after your first loss.
And that has been the case. Long field goal attempt of 52 yards for Sims Lenhart. His career long is 50. And it is now 52. So Sims Lenhart with a long field goal. He had missed from 52 and 56 yards earlier in his career. But the top kicker in the ACC shows exactly why he is that and connects from long range for Goldsmith's Blue Devils. A 51-yard field goal officially, and that will be a new career long for Sims Lenhart.
Lenhart had an exceptional year last year, 16 for 20, and continues to move up on that all-time Duke kicking list. Fred Goldsmith, 1967 graduate of University of Florida, but is not unfamiliar with Tallahassee, Mike.
Here's Tom Block.
Mike, you know, this is the 20th anniversary of Chief Osceola and Renegade, and for the 98 season, Florida State is bringing back alumni riders. So we have Chief Osceola 6 from 1987 and 88. It's James Fairfield. He's now a member of the Tallahassee Police Department SWAT team. Fact guessing is Chief Osceola tonight.
Now, a lot of great traditions here at Florida State University. The 40th anniversary of the first Florida State meeting. And they're hoping to get all the riders back. The Osceolas, if you will, on this 10th anniversary of the Punt Rooski and the 20th year for Osceola and Renegade, a great Florida State tradition. 5-yard drive, capped off by the field goal by Sims Lenhart, a 51-yard field goal for the Duke Blue Devils. We're tied with 6:43 remaining here in the second quarter. Mike Goldberg, Pete Jones, Tom Block, happy to be with you from Doak Campbell Stadium here on Sunshine Network's presentation of Florida State football tonight. Lenhart kicks it off. Lavernius Coles at the 4. Coles on the right side. Outside the 35. No one will catch him. Lavernius Coles inside the 20. The 10. Touchdown Seminoles! '97-yard kickoff return for the touchdown by Lavernius Coles.
Another look at it. On the right-hand side of your screen, watch the wall. A Duke defender comes through, and then everybody picks somebody up. He goes right through the seam. Mike, this is a young man that the last time he played in live scrimmage on this field broke his leg. Lavernius Coles broke his leg in the Garnet and Gold game. Sat out, worked out, made things happen. Here he is, 97 yards from receiving the ball, scoring for Florida State.
Janikowski makes the score 17-10 Seminoles. So a special teams unit that has been in the estimation of the coaches average so far through 2 games comes up with a big hit here tonight as the Noles regain the lead.
Special teams end up being about a third of your plays, Mike. You cannot underestimate their importance. You see there the kick going to the left-hand side of the offense. Again, keep your eye on the wall right there. They come right through. Feaster picks up, trying to pick up, and then Coles makes a great move on the kicker. Lavernius with super speed, but again, what a human interest story. Broke his leg in the Garnet and Gold game, and here he is about 5 months later, fully recovered, 97-yard kickoff return.
Special teams has been a factor in the last couple of matchups against Duke, Keith. 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. In the 96 game, Pete Feaster had a 59-yard touchdown return off a punt. Last year, Sam Coward forced a fumble, and the 24-yard fumble touchdown, Derek Gibson also recovered a Tommy Pauly blocked punt. So special teams for Florida State has been a Duke Blue Devil killer in the last couple of seasons, and Coles adds on to that this evening.
For those of you that are asking, the last time Florida State against any opponent had a kickoff return for a touchdown, 1992, 6-year drought.
97 yards matches the effort of Billy Allen against LSU in 1981. It is not, though, the longest kickoff return in Florida State history. Montgomery and Flowers fought over. Flowers takes it. Ball. Football on the ground. Flag on the field. Who has it? Florida State with the indications that they have recovered. We'll see what the call is as the football was picked up by the Seminoles. Cleveland Thomas, one of the men celebrating as he comes back towards the near side of the field.
Got 2 flags down. You've got Florida State players celebrating.
May have been Jeff Cheney who came up with that football.
Let's get a call here from Robert Wood, our referee.
On the receiving team, the penalties decline. First down.
There was confusion on who was going to take that football in the first place between Flowers and Montgomery. Flowers upset with himself that he took it now.
Again, let's look at the Florida State offense in the red zone. Coming into the night, they've been there 7 times. 2 touchdowns, 3 field goals, 2 interceptions. You see another look at the return here by Flowers. It's stripped out from the backside by Todd Pryor. And Cheney there to recover.
Noles run their first play from the 16-yard line after the fumble recovery.
What a huge swing on back-to-back plays, Mike. Florida State with the 97-yard touchdown kickoff return. And then on the ensuing kickoff, the turnover inside the red zone.
William McCray with his first carry of the game, a gain of just 2 yards. Winky 4 for 9 and a touchdown. That was a big one to Peter Warwick at 30 yards. Winky pitches. Near side, Travis Minor, and he is dumped in the backfield. Ronnie Hamilton, freshman from Oxford, North Carolina, makes the stop and a loss on the play.
Hamilton at 5'7", 175 pounds. I mentioned earlier Goldsmith not unfamiliar with Tallahassee. 5-year assistant at Florida A&M was Fred. in the early 70s under Rudy Hubbard. In fact, won a national championship, Mike, at A&M in 1978.
And very dear friends with Steve Spurrier in his way. Spurrier, of course, coached at Duke. That led to the Hall of Fame appearance in '94. Dumped off, near side, Minor. Through Stallmeyer, into the end zone, touchdown Seminoles! He worked right through Ryan Stallmeyer's attempted tackle, and Minor finds the end zone. 17-yard touchdown for Travis Minor.
Great patience by Chris Weinke, allowing that play to develop, and then a nice quick throw to his right. Minor, the only man to stop him would be Stallmeyer. He would not be denied. Florida State converts the turnover into a touchdown.
And Janikowski caps it off. It is 24-10 rather quickly. Going from 10-10 to 24-10 is Travis Minor. Scores the touchdown.
Minor now with 50 yards on the ground, 17 yards through the air with 2 catches. This one for the touchdown. We'll get another look at it from the back of the offense. Minor with patience, and then delivers a nice little throw. Runs completely out of Stallmeyer's arm tackle. You see the offensive lineman all the way down to the end zone. That's a nice feeling. You know, when you're an OL and you're at the end zone and there's somebody still running behind you, they're likely to get there.
That is the first reception, or the first receiving touchdown, pardon me, by a receiver other than Peter Warwick, who has 2 on the air. That in the air going to Travis Minor. Had 2 touchdowns via the air 1 year ago in a freshman year in which he had 11 touchdowns on the season. Florida State with the special teams making things happen. A 97-yard return for touchdown by Lavernius Coles, and then Travis Minor takes advantage of the fumble recovery on the ensuing kickoff and goes 17 yards for the end zone. And Florida State now leads by 2 touchdowns with 4:43 remaining here in the second quarter. Another big boot by Janikowski. 2 yards deep with Scotty Montgomery. Montgomery is met at the 22-yard line by Demetro Stevens.
Stevens, the special teams captain, even though he's a starting middle linebacker, he plays on special teams. He's named the captain. Getting a lot of help there from other Florida State players. Bradley Jennings, number 44 there, as you see Romine trotting on to take over this Duke offense.
Well, Duke mano-a-mano offense against defense, defense against offense, pretty even with the Seminoles. But the difference has been the special teams, the 2 big plays by Florida State special teams here in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Romine will try to patiently get some back, and he was almost picked off by Sean Key. You mentioned Key out a year ago. He's a very aggressive player who has added much-needed depth to the defensive backfield of the Seminoles.
This Florida State defensive backfield goes about 10 deep. I mean, they've got 2 full nickel units. Number 18 there, Sean Key, missed last year for disciplinary reasons, has come back, worked his way back in, had to get his progress towards completion, his hours done at community college level, continued to work out over the summer to make his presence known, and Coach Andrews is welcoming him back, and he's working his way into playing time.
Montgomery trots towards the right side. Romine, they use that play again with Scotty Montgomery, and Montgomery forced out of bounds on the play. Cleveland Thomas and Sean Key in to make the stop.
Now, we've seen Duke continue to run these quick outs. They've run Montgomery across either out of the backfield or through motion. They've tried that little roll out, the little 3-step drop. The next progression, Mike, is to take that and fake it and try to hit something on the out and up. You've got to be disciplined if you're Florida State on that side of the ball, not to let somebody get behind you.
A gain of just 3 yards brings up a long 3rd down situation for Duke. 3rd and 7 from their own 25-yard line. Montgomery with 5 rushes officially for nearly 80 yards in the game. Roma, classic drop back. Pressure on. He is sacked. Brought down by Jamal Reynolds. His first sack of the season. And it'll be a punting situation for Duke.
We mentioned it earlier, Florida State 4 deep at their defensive end position. Jamal Reynolds and David Warren, the backups. The starters, Tony Bryant and Roland Seymour. Florida State with 6 sacks coming into the night's ball game.
Duke's Brian Morton forced the punt for the 5th time. Both Feaster and Warwick have been back to receive. From the 38, it's Feaster. Moves up and bounced inside the 40-yard line, and that is where the Seminoles will start, near their own 40-yard line. A 43-yard kick for Brian Morton. Coming up at the half, we will visit with the fine president here at Florida State University. Some exciting times for the performing arts here in Tallahassee. Keith and I will have highlights and statistics. We'll also have Tom Locke checking in with both coaches, Bobby Bowden and Fred Goldsmith, as we hope to continue to bring you good news throughout the evening from Tallahassee.
Youth Day here. Youth evening, as it were.
One of 3 night games on the docket this year for the Seminoles. Their home opener for 1998. Wenke. Quick hit near side Dugan. Dugan steps through. Clark and moves up inside Duke Blue Devil territory. Darius Clark had trouble bringing down Ron Dugan. 19-yard gain as the Seminoles on a roll with 21 points in just nearly 7.5 minutes here in the second quarter. And again, this was a quarter in which Duke had outscored their opponents in the first 2 games of the season 37-0. And these are the first points of the second quarter on the year for Florida State. Wenke fakes it, play action, steps up in the pocket, and he is hit hard and dragged down on the play. It'll be Gannon Shepard, the junior from Norcross, Georgia, who will be credited with the stop for the Blue Devils.
Florida State faithful looking at that and saying, why didn't Wenke throw the ball away? Again, in the progression, one of the things Coach Mark Richt talked about with Chris is don't throw the ball into places where it doesn't belong. Take the sack if you have to, regroup, get back under center.
So a loss of 4 and a 2nd and 14. Hands it off. Feaster, a good gainer, up to the 34-yard line, a gain of 10 yards on the carry for D. Feaster. Continuing our halftime activity, Pete will join with the new Florida State Hall of Famer, P.T. Willis, who has joined Gene Deckerhoff in the radio booth this season. P.T., the Tampa resident now. And also we will have our virtual replay, something you only see here on Sunshine Network for college football coverage, like we showed you in the open, from the eyes of the quarterback or the receiver. The virtual replay coming at halftime this evening. 3rd and 4. High formation. Play action again. In and out of the hands, a very rare drop football by Peter Warwick, who was defended on the play by the freshman Ronnie Hamilton. A rare drop.
Fortunately rare in 98, but all too common in 97. One of the things that Pete worked on in the offseason and summer. But that's a big one. Wide open, hits him right in the 9. Maybe that. One of the things that's said about Pete is he doesn't make the routine catches very well, but he makes the spectacular catches look routine. Maybe we need to throw that one over his head or down to his ankles.
Sebastian Janikowski trying to match, maybe even surpass the efforts a moment ago of Sims Lenhart. A 53-yard field goal attempt. The big lefty with plenty of leg. It is no good. It is wide to the near side, and Janikowski misses from 53 yards out. He made the 56-yarder last year against Wake Forest. That is his career high.
And unlike most kickers who would say, well, you know, it was over 50, not that big a deal, Janikowski is potential from about 65 or 68, and that won't set well with him.
He wants to get those opportunities. When you play for the Florida State Seminoles, you hope that you don't have to kick a lot of field goals in regards to your team putting the ball in the end zone. So the drop by Warwick turns out to mean that Florida State comes away with nothing. after good field position was in their favor again. On first down, Romine spinning, moves around the would-be rusher and completes the pass to the big tight end, Terrence Dupree, who was hit on the play by Derek Gibson. Flags are on the field, back in the backfield. It may indicate a holding against Duke.
Duke going with the misdirection. An eligible receiver downfield, I believe, is that preliminary signal. Going with the misdirection. Seymour a little too flat on the top of the field, and Romaine able to get around and complete it, but it'll come back.
An eligible downfield on the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty and receive first down.
Fred Goldsmith saw his team victimized by a 97-yard kickoff return for touchdown by Lavernius Coles. There have been 3 100-yard returns in the history of Florida State football. Romine hands it off on 1st and 15, and it'll bring up a 2nd and 12 situation. In '86 against the Miami Hurricanes on the lateral play, you may remember, Keith Ross and Dexter Carter hooked up for 100 yards. Leon Bright in 1974 against Virginia Tech, and Bill Moorman and T.K. Wetherell against Kentucky in 1965, another lateral play. So 2 laterals of the 3 100-yard returns. No lateral for Coles. He's in the books, tied for the 4th longest return for touchdown off the kickoff in Florida State history. Duke staying conservative here, and they're going to be happy, I believe, to run the clock out. Steve with a ticking with 32 left here in the first half. Goldsmith not trying to force anything and potentially give Florida State an opportunity for an interception and a big play to go into the half.
Not a bad game plan by Duke so far here in the first half. Those quick hitters, those little rollouts, stay away from pressure, make something happen quickly, get Scotty Montgomery out of the backfield, use him almost like a tailback. 10 points to show for it.
Could be 10-10, Keith, but the big special teams play by the Seminoles, a real factor here in the first half. As the final seconds tick away, and Florida State, thanks to the efforts of Lavernius Coles, and the fumble recovery off the kickoff return and the Travis Minor 17-yard scamper, lead this game 24-10 after 30 minutes.
If you're Florida State, especially on the offensive side, you're okay, but you're not necessarily pleased. Defensively, Coach Andrews is going to be after him over that 1 touchdown. Florida State running well and playing well here in the first half.
Tom Block down on the field with the head coach.
Coach Bowden, not a great start with the special teams play, but then the special teams came alive for you, and the offense really exploded here in the second quarter.
Yeah, it got a little bit better. I thought we wasn't going to get started off, but we finally did. I hope we can keep it up.
Chris Winke's play so far?
Yeah, he's throwing good. We're dropping passes. That's our problem right now.
Seminole Saturday night, though, it seems like the crowd's alive and they're responding well after last week.
The crowd is doing a good job. They're keeping us in the ball game. I hope they'll continue the second half.
Coach, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Back upstairs, Mike.
Well, thank you, Tom. Indeed, the crowd came out with, I believe, almost as much anxiety tonight as many of the players have had throughout the last week. And Florida State has put on a good show through 30 minutes. They lead by 2 touchdowns, 24-10, our halftime score. We're back with our intermission activities and much more right here live on Sunshine. We welcome you back to Doak Campbell Stadium. Happy to be with you this evening for Florida State football as the Noles and the Duke Blue Devils have played 1 half here tonight on Sunshine Network. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Goldberg, and welcome back upstairs here at Doak Campbell Stadium. And here during our halftime festivities, we're happy to be joined tonight by the president of Florida State University, Sandy Dallenbart. And Sandy, why we are gathered for the excitement of a Florida State football opener this evening, there is also great excitement here in Tallahassee and amongst the university for your fine and performing arts program.
Well, those are all great programs. Dance and theater, music, film are all in top 10 ranked programs at FSU, and they bring a year-round excitement to this university.
You know, we talk about the popularity of Florida State football quite often, but potentially the Performing Arts Center and the program here at Florida State is as revered as your great football team.
It is. In fact, you'll see a piece of it here with the Marching Chiefs. Bobby Bowden says that's one of the finest things about Florida State. But you'll also see these people in concert and throughout the year throughout the campus, they really bring an awful lot of great cultural enrichment to this place.
And not only Florida State University, Sandy, also cultural enrichment to the city of Tallahassee. And what an exciting time it will be after the first of the year in February when the festival comes to town.
Well, we have an arts festival, the first one we've done in many, many years. We're calling it Tallahassee. 7 days of opening nights. We have Danny Glover, we have Garth Fagan coming, the Canadian Brass, and an awful lot of very good performers will be here.
What do you think it is that attracts people like a Danny Glover to Tallahassee, Florida?
Well, I think he's very happy to come and be with a program that is really quite distinguished. We've had over the years quite a number of eminent scholars come from the performing arts to perform here, and also to help work with our students. These people, Garth Fagan, the great choreographer, will be here. Will spend just about 2 weeks with us. We'll perform an original composition, and we'll work with our students to perform in it.
Sandy, as we stand here at halftime of another good football game in a jam-packed Doak Campbell Stadium, it makes one think about the renovations that the university went ahead and put the money towards monetarily in the last couple of years to make this one of the great football buildings in all of our country. You would like to see a similar home for the performing arts.
We would indeed. In fact, we had great help from alumni and friends of the university to provide the private dollars that went in with some public match to make this great place happen. And now just across campus, we hope we can have a project which we're now calling the Corner on the Arts, because we think that Florida State University does have the Corner on the Arts, and now we need to have the facility that goes with that name.
A grand home for a grand program, one with really grand expectations for the next century, not just the next decade, but the next century. How instrumental will the people involved in Tallahassee, those who make those decisions, be in hopefully making this dream come true of putting the building here on this campus?
Well, when private donors and state legislators and city officials all come together and grasp that vision, I think we'll see something really spectacular happen that will match the excellence of this facility, and it will also finally give the right kind of home to programs of just extraordinary excellence that have been in place a number of years, but now just need the facilities to support them.
Sandy, we see a great facility back here. We hope that you continue to have great success in your role as president here at Florida State.
Thanks so much, Mike. I've enjoyed being here. Thanks.
Sandy Dalembert, nice enough to join us here at halftime of our presentation of Florida State football here tonight, and we'll continue with our halftime activities from Doak Campbell in Tallahassee as we roll on right here on Sunshine Network.
We're back at halftime, Florida State versus Duke here in Doak Campbell Stadium, and joining me now here at halftime, a very, very special guest, Peter Tom Willis, former quarterback for Florida State, and it's been quite a weekend. Take us back about a month ago. You were in similar shoes.
Yes, I was. We had a rough game against Orlando playing in the Arena Bowl Championship, and you know, I had a rough day, much like Chris had last week, and you know, I was lucky enough to get to talk to him, and you know, I just told him he had to learn from his mistakes and forget about it and get ready to play this week.
Now, unfortunately, you have a similar experience starting 0-2 in 1989. Chris now sitting at 1-1. What exactly did you talk about?
Well, you know, I just told him that it's going to be rough. You know, you're going to have a lot of criticism. Again, just watch the film, learn from what you did wrong, and go out and do what you know you can do. He's going to be a great quarterback, and I told him that. You know, what we did when we were 0-2, we had a senior meeting. We said, hey, we got to start playing better. It starts in this room. You know, unfortunately, this team doesn't have a lot of seniors, but we have a lot of guys that have played. So I think they'll turn it around.
Now, a very special weekend for Peter Tom. If you are not aware of it, the Hall of Fame banquet last Friday night, and PT, 1998 inductee. Tell us about that.
Well, it was a very humbling experience. I mean, I just wished all my teammates could have been there because they were such a big part of it. But it was really something special. My mom and dad and my wife were here, and you know, when I kind of got choked up a little bit when I looked out and saw my mom and dad, and you know what they've meant to my career, and you know they supported me all the way, and you know to be in the Hall of Fame with all the people that's there, it's just it's a great honor.
Now, kind of a new career for you. You're joining the Seminole Sports Network as color analyst. How's your first two shows been?
Well, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot to learn, and it's different, but to be back around Florida State football every week and to be around a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while, and to work with Gene. You know, Gene's great. He makes my job easy, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it.
Well, it's a great weekend. We appreciate you, and we welcome you into the Hall of Fame. And, folks, we'll be right back here at halftime. Florida State versus Duke. Stay with us.
Back to Doak Campbell Stadium here in Tallahassee after one half of football tonight here on Sunshine Network. Florida State leads 24-10. Last year, Florida State scored 21 points in the second quarter off of turnovers at Duke. Tonight, 14 points in the second quarter off of turnovers. Some highlights from the first 30 minutes, Keith.
We get a good look at why Peter Warwick is in the Heisman hunt and why Florida State tries to get the ball in his hands just as often and many times as we can. Good five-step drop to his left by Winky. Great throw. Clark on the coverage. But Peter just able to cradle that ball in, get separation with his great speed, hauls in his second touchdown of the year. And then some excitement. Not since 1992, as we mentioned right after it happened. Lavernius Coles from 97 yards deep. Good blocking at the point of attack. Feaster doesn't even have to get anybody. Makes a good move on the kicker. And Lavernius goes 97 for the touch.
Travis Minor, 10 carries, 50 yards. A virtual look at one of his big ones.
38 of them on this run. You're going to see real time as they give the ball to him. Then we're going to convert to the virtual. You're going to get a good bird's eye view of it. The good guys are in the red. Watch downfield, folks. Count the stripes. That's the open territory Minor sees when he gets to the corner. Good blocking at the point of attack. We go back to real time, and Minor takes off. If not, but for about a half of the width of his right shoe, it would have been better than 60 for the touch. And that way, 38 of 50 on that one play.
Well, defensively, the Florida State defense doing a good job holding Duke to just 27 yards on the ground, and the total yards a big differentiation. And the turnover is really a key to this contest, with Florida State not committing one yet. And Duke had not committed a turnover throughout the first two games of this season.
Duke was +3 in the turnover margin coming into the ball game. With those two for Florida State, they're now at +1. And one of the things Goldsmith said is that they've got to win that turnover margin victory throughout the year. There you see the numbers on the quarterback comparison. Romine 1 of 6 for 6 yards. Remember, those passes to Montgomery behind the line of scrimmage, folks, they go as rushes. That's why Montgomery's got the 4 or 5 rushes. The one pick for Romine, Winky at 4 for 9 for 70, but the big number, 2 TDs, the bigger number, 0 interceptions.
And all coming in the second quarter. And Chris Winky had his confidence, his manhood, and everything else tested. Winky quoted as saying, "There are going to be some in this town that want to run me out of Tallahassee." Last week, heavily criticized. One of the toughest jobs to have in Tallahassee, Florida, probably the governor's job. Maybe the second toughest job is Bobby Bowden's, and the third is the man who takes the snaps here at Florida State, being the quarterback of a team expected to win a national championship every year.
And as you heard P.T. Willis at halftime in his conversations with Chris during the week, don't get down on yourself. As Chris said in our opening, got to put it behind you and move on.
Little fear of Lavernius Coles on that kickoff, and it is taken by the upback of the Seminoles. Todd Fryer, the free safety, the junior, out of Live Oak. And a decent return and good field position for Wenke and the Seminoles to start here in the second half.
You saw his first and second quarter numbers. There they are, complying for Chris Winky. 6 of 12 for 95 yards. Again, the 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. And nothing in the far right. No picks, no Oskies, no INTs.
Bobby Bowden also kind of echoed what P.T. said. He said, we don't want our quarterback to lose his confidence. Don't let him lose his focus, his confidence. They've used the ground effectively tonight. Travis Minor, another big gainer into Duke territory. Minor brought down on the play by Darius Clark. A gain of 14 yards on the carry for Travis Minor.
Nothing fancy. Minor just works all the way back to his right. Good downfield movement by the offensive line. Makes a good move on Clark out here on the sidelines and has to be tripped up there at the end.
Lamar Grant with the initial hit on Travis Minor. Good gain on first down. They go right back to Minor. He squirts through the middle, and he is caught on the play by Kevin Lewis, the junior outside linebacker. 2 years ago against the Noles, had a sack and a pick. A big play emerging star for a team that is still fairly young, these Duke Blue Devils, but a team in which has had a lot of freshmen and sophomores in starting positions the last couple of years. This year, they're juniors, a few of them seniors. Goldsmith in a rebuilding phase that has gotten off to a good start. They may not be undefeated after tonight. Third time to the ground, and Miner this time finally hauled down by Todd DeLamielleure, the freshman linebacker, a gain of maybe 1 yard on the carry.
DeLamielleure kind of short in there at 5'11", but carries around 225 pounds. Does a good job being active in that 3-4 that Duke runs. They've got 2 middle linebackers and 2 outside linebackers, 3 down linemen. They'll stun a little bit. But McCormack, Stallmeyer, DeLamielleure, and Kevin Lewis are very active for that linebacking core there for the Blue Devils. Third down.
The big loss for the Blue Devils, Kiki Abunaway, an all-ACC performer. He is gone. From the shotgun. 3rd and 7. Wink near side. Has Dugan. Dugan cuts back towards the middle of the field. Now to the 20. And finally hauled down at the 10-yard line. Ronnie Hamilton ran him down. Ron Dugan's a great run after the reception. A 36-yard reception for Dugan.
27 yards was his longest reception prior to this one. Nothing fancy. Is an inside little hitch route. All you want to do is get some separation from the corner and hope, because Duke is in pressure, that the safeties aren't there. They're not. Ronnie Hamilton has to run Dugan down after he jukes him on the outside. Another look at it from the Florida State side. And all Dugan wants to do is get a little separation and then put it into high gear.
First and goal from the 8. Miner has the football. At the 10. Winky with a block. Miner to the near side. Touchdown, Florida State! An 8-yard touchdown carry, the second touchdown of the night for Travis Miner.
Chris Winky showing some excellent mobility and then sticking his head in there. You know, we talked all during the week as Janikowski lines up for the extra point about would Winky lose the confidence of his teammates. The answer from the coaching staff, no. And I tell you, throwing a block like he just did will improve.
The Noles are rolling. They lead 31-10 early here in the third quarter. And the fans like it here in Tallahassee. Travis Miner with his second rushing touchdown of the season.
Play designed to go out to the left. Nothing there. He comes all the way back around. And watch number 16 enter your screen. Get a little push on a block there. Miner tiptoes into the end zone. Second touchdown on the night.
1 in the air, 1 on the ground, 3 on the year, and another touchback. Duke will start from the 20-yard line. So Sebastian Janikowski, the Polish powder keg, as some will call him again, with the heavy left-footed boots.
Saw Chris Winky there on the sideline. A better conversation with Mark Richt than maybe was taking place last week rather.
When the guys watch the game film and they see again Winky throw that block for Travis Miner, what will that do for the mental state of these gentlemen on the Florida State team, believing in their quarterback as we get set for first down by Duke?
Both offensively and defensively, when players see that, they know that your quarterback is willing to do whatever it takes to get it done.
It's been solid here tonight. Romine over the middle, intercepted! Florida State with another big play defensively. Intercepted by Derek Gibson, the Rover. And the Seminoles striking again.
Gibson losing his starting job this week, potentially, to Sean Key. Coming in here, watch him play in the middle of the field, just reading the quarterback. They're trying to get it to the tight end, and Gibson free, able to just read the ball. Comes down with another big turnover, third of the night for Florida State. Look at it from the defense's backfield, trying to get the ball on a quick hitter to the tight end. Gibson free, steps right in front. That's exactly what you ask your safeties to do.
So Gibson with his first interception of the year. And Duke down 0-3 in the turnover battle. Feaster wrapped up on first down. Chris Combs in with a teammate, and a loss of 2 yards for the Seminoles. In 1994, the last time Duke started 2-0 and went to play in the Hall of Fame Bowl, an 8-4 season, in Goldsmith's first season as the head coach, they were second in the country, Keith, in turnover ratio. Last year, Goldsmith was quick to point out they lost the turnover battle against Florida State. They lost the football game 51-27. They are losing the battle badly again here tonight.
Through the first two ball games, as I mentioned earlier, they were +3. They've given up 3 times now to Florida State's none. They're back to 0 in that turnover margin.
2nd and 12. Winky play action. Rolling right side. Fires. And Warwick unable to bring it in. Warwick covered on the play by Lamar Grant. Covering the sideline still is our own Tom Block.
Just to follow up on Derek Gibson, remember he scored a touchdown last year against Duke after the punt block, so apparently he gets up for the Blue Devils with his first INT tonight. Big turnover play for Florida State.
And Bobby Bowden just hoping his kids would come out hungry this season. It has been a very, very long week for the Seminoles. They just wanted to get back out to the football field where they could prove that something is different. Timeout called by the Duke Blue Devils, I believe, as they were the first to head over towards the sideline. Wenke comes this way, and we will step aside. 31-10, our score, as Wenke has been good so far tonight. The connection of the game is brought to you by Nokia. Nokia tonight, a proud sponsor of our broadcast. Nokia, connecting people. The connection earlier to Peter Warwick for 30 yards as the Seminoles facing a 3rd and 12. It was Wenke who did call the timeout, so Florida State using their first timeout here in the second half of play. A side note, 3 Duke starters out since the second quarter with food poisoning. Eric Scanlon, Chris Combs, the tough young man who plays defensive tackle, and 99 Brian McCormick were taking IVs in the locker room to try to get rehydrated. If Tom Block gets more on that story, we'll try to bring it to you as we roll on. 3rd and 12 from the I formation. Wenke, lots of time, looking, end zone, Warwick has it, touchdown Seminoles! He was great by Lamar Grant and comes away with the football. A 22-yard touchdown reception by Peter Warwick, his 2nd of the night.
We talked early in the ball game how Lamar Grant, number 37, the best cover man for Duke, would be draped all over Warwick. We saw him on Coles as well. Last week, Grant on Dwayne Bates for Northwestern. This time, Wenke with an exceptionally accurate throw. Florida State scores.
Now, the big guys have had big games. Travis Minor with 2 touchdowns on the evening, and Peter Warwick with the 24-yard touchdown catch.
What's a nice footwork by Wenke this time? He takes his 7-step drop, he plants, he hops, he steps, he throws. Exactly the way you draw it up. And then on the other end, Warwick fighting for the ball, an exceptionally accurate pass. Watch it coming right at you. There's Grant on the left-hand side. Good outside position. What you do here is you close. You come in front of the receiver. The ball's got to be out front. Exactly where Wenke puts it. Warwick with the great grab. Florida State converts from 22 out.
16th career touchdown reception for Peter Warwick. He passes Jackie Flowers into 12th place all time. He came into the night 110 yards back of Jackie Flowers on the all-time yardage list, and Wenke will learn to love that young man, Peter Warwick, throughout this season.
Had the pleasure and privilege of playing with Jackie Flowers for 3 of my years. Mike, he caught a number of balls from Wally Woodham and Jimmy Jordan. They all came in together, the 3 of them, and Jackie was an exceptionally gifted receiver. Huge hands. If the ball got anywhere near Jackie Flowers, he would wrap those hands around them, and that's why he's in the Florida State record book.
Minor has a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and Peter Warwick. 3 receptions, 58 yards, and 2 scores for the Seminoles. 3 touchdowns. Passes thrown tonight by Chris Wenke, and no interception. This one taken at the 1-yard line by Scotty Montgomery. And Montgomery met at the 21, and the play made once again by Jeff Cheney.
Jeff really distinguishing himself on special teams play. We're not sure, but we believe he came up with the fumble recovery on the kickoff return that was fumbled by Duke in the second quarter. There with a big hit on Montgomery. Duke starting on their 22.
Thad Busby against Wake Forest in '97 threw 4 touchdown passes. Danny Cannell has 5 against Wake Forest in '95. So far tonight, Wanky has 3. Defense very active. They come to the near side, and Scotty Montgomery. And the Garnett and Cole just comes in swarms.
Great play that time by Mario Edwards. Mario came all the way across, staying with Montgomery, and refused to be blocked when Montgomery caught the ball, holding the preliminary indication against Duke. But both Mario Edwards and Sean Key with outstanding performances tonight. Watch number 15 settle down. He's got a blocker and a holder and someone tripping him and grabbing him and throwing at him, and he turns everything and slows it up where a host of help can come.
Now this defense that allowed only a little under 52 yards per game on the ground last year has forced Duke into a situation when they aren't even trying to run the football tonight. Latavius Wilkes, a highly touted tailback from here in the Florida Panhandle in Crestview, been non-existent. B.J. Hill carried the ball a couple of times, but they've kind of, I say they is against Mickey Andrews' defense. They and Duke's offense has tried to really kind of mastermind any type of potential running play through those short little dump-offs to Scotty Montgomery.
I love the comment Goldsmith had during the Wednesday radio interview. He's talking about, if Bobby Bowden is upset and not happy, then Mickey Andrews is probably angry.
And he was when we visited with him yesterday. 1st and 22. Romine fires into double coverage. The intended receiver, Scotty Montgomery, covered on the play by Dexter Jackson and Cleveland Thomas.
And again, you saw a great play by Jackson, just like Gibson's play the series before for the intercept. Dexter Jackson, free in his half, able to come over and help out the corners. That's one of the things I talked to Mickey about yesterday. I said, the safeties don't appear to be getting deep enough to help out. And he said, we're going to correct that. You've seen it twice here on each of these series. Dexter Jackson that time, and of course Gibson with the interception in the series prior.
Mickey said last week the ball game meant more to NC State than it did to us. It better not be the case again here tonight. A flag on the field, back to about the original line of scrimmage on the reception. The Duke Blue Devils deep in their own territory. Lamont Green making the stop for the Noles.
Another holding penalty, the early indication. Florida State relatively penalty free through 2 quarters and 5 minutes.
This defensive front, at least where the strength early in the season lies, a little different this year for the Noles than it was a year ago.
Very much so. The tackles with Jerry Johnson and Larry Smith, who's out
Holding, half the distance to the goal and repeat 2nd down.
Corey Simon, Brian Malone coming in. Florida State known for their defensive ends, getting good interior play by those 2 down defensive linemen. And you put the package together, you make things happen. We talked yesterday with Mickey. I've known Mickey for 15 years probably. And it's Friday after a Saturday off. 6 days gone. He's still not happy. Wasn't happy. Ain't going to be happy until this one's over.
Pressure again. Will it be a safety? Right on the goal line. The ball carrier was swarmed. And all of a sudden, attitude positively coming out from guys like Roland Seymour, the sophomore from New Orleans.
Florida State defense number 1 in the ACC against the rush, only giving up 61.5 yards a game. There you see him almost corralled in the end zone for 2. Lamont Green, number 45, down there at the bottom. The pigskin is not far away from that white line.
B.J. Hill had to get the second effort to avoid the safety. Lined up at the goal line again. 3rd and 31. Duke avoids giving away 2 points. But Florida State is going to end up with excellent field position. Just a gain of 4 yards on the carry by B.J. Hill, just hoping to give his punter Brian Morton a little room for which to work.
And the last time Duke was in this position, Florida State went with the return. It'll be interesting now. Coach Andrews making the call. Do we go with the return or do we go with the block with Duke backed up here?
Sean Key, one of the guys who will rush the kicker. Key, number 18 on the near side, beats her at the 44-yard line. Morton backs up again. Here they come. Morton time gets it away. A good kick by Brian Morton all the way back to the 41 of the Noles. Right up the middle is Feaster. And a good return back to the 34-yard line. of the Blue Devils. So a good kick from right at the goal line by Brian Morton. A 56-yard punt and a 21-yard return.
His longest punt of the year so far, Morton, with a 55-yarder coming in as the longest. That one from 56 does a great job of getting it off in a hurry.
Don't forget, Seminole Sports Magazine, next Saturday, the latest on the Florida State Seminoles. It comes your way 9:30 in the morning, Saturday, right here on Sunshine Network. Good field position after a good return by D. Feaster. Wenke, play action. Looking, Marvin Minnis has the football down at the 12-yard line of Duke, and Wenke is throwing bullets. A 22-yard gain.
The last two throws that Wenke has made have been picture perfect, Mike. He's getting back, he's setting his feet. Watch the little shoes down at the bottom. Good line play. Isolation on Coles at the top, running the receiver, running the DB off, and underneath, behind the play, Snoop Minnis coming across. Here's another look at it. That's a rope. That is just a rope. Perfectly thrown. Snoop able to corral it. Florida State in business.
Wenke again. Excellent protection all night long through the hands of Lavernius Coles. It'll go incomplete, and it brings up second down.
Coach Bowden talked with Tom about that. It was leaving after the second quarter. Too many dang drop balls, I believe, was his quote. After this, it'll be too many dadgum drop balls. Another good throw by Wenke. Coles just doesn't bring it in. There you see his numbers on the night. 9 for 17, better than 170 yards.
Now, Goldsmith said that Minor and Warwick as good as any in the nation, and Minor and Warwick have been heard from tonight. So has Lavernius Coles with the 97-yard kickoff return. 2nd and 10. Ball spotted on the 12-yard line. Oh, a little reverse. Flags all over the field. Warwick has it. He gets it to about the 8-yard line of the Blue Devils. Lots of yellow on the turf.
Couldn't tell if it was procedure by Florida State or offsides against the defense. But the little hankies were sprinkled all over the place.
Ronnie Hamilton made the stop on Warwick. Doesn't matter. Duke commits the penalty. Duke has been heavily penalized this season.
That they have, and again, uncharacteristically, Florida State playing relatively error-free.
Remember a year ago, you and I were in Durham, and it was numerous penalties that were called
on the defense, a 5-yard penalty, and repeat the down.
Against Florida State in the first half of that football game, and it kind of gave Duke the idea, at least for a little bit before the turnovers turned into points, that they had a chance to maybe pull off an upset at home.
Saw Florida State with only 4 penalties through here in the middle of the third quarter. They are averaging about 9 penalties a game.
2nd and 5 from about the 7-yard line. Steve Feaster inside the 4 and gang tackle there. Gain of 5 yards. It will bring up a 3rd and 2 for Florida State. Feaster, as you mentioned, is going to get his carries this year. Davey Ford, the red shirt, potentially with the injury. Gooch going to the Gators. Feaster back from defense on offense and averaging over 4 yards a carry tonight.
And don't forget about Cheney and Skaggs backing up Feaster.
Feaster around the outside, looking towards the end zone. He has the first down. He is forced out at about the 1-yard line by Lamar Grant.
Well, Grant has been everywhere. Lamar Grant has been covering on deep passes. He's been coming up to pursue the run. Good outside break here by Feaster. Just takes it and runs it vertical in order to get a little separation. Knows exactly where the first down marker is. Makes sure he gets the first down and then tries to get into the to the touchdown. Another look at it from the defensive position. Grant has to come up and gets the worst for it.
So 1st and goal. Touchdown Florida State. Yes, there's the official indication. The Noles pouring it on. William McCray, the backup fullback, scores the touchdown for the Seminoles.
McCray's first carry of the 98 campaign results in 6.
He had the 2 touchdowns in the Sugar Bowl last year and scores his first touchdown of this season here tonight against the Blue Devils. Janikowski with the point after. McCray with with the touchdown. Noles with a big lead. In it, pretty good for the Seminoles. They did not score in the first quarter. They played 23 minutes since that point, and the Noles have put 45 points on the board. Not bad at all. And Wenke has been a key factor. They got him set up for this last whole run by William McCray.
Nothing fancy, 1.5 yards out. McCray with the first rushing touchdown of the year for him, as well as the first rushing touchdown for Florida State by someone other than Travis Minor.
Janikowski will put it in play, and Duke finding themselves in a very large hole. The average margin of victory for the Seminoles, who, by the way, lead the all-time series against the Blue Devils 6-0, has been nearly 35 points. Flowers at the 5-yard line. Flowers moves it back ahead, and he is stopped on the play once again by Jeff Chaney. Chaney has been in and been effective in his special teams position. Tate Cody also into help. Last year, Florida State won 51-27. The 27 points, an all-time Duke Series high. Points scored by the Blue Devils, and it was the smallest margin of victory for Florida State against Duke. Last year's victory of 24 points. Believe it or not, against Duke in the 6 meetings, the Noles have averaged nearly 53 points. An ineffective offense run by Spencer Romine. Not all his fault, but nonetheless, Duke brings in their second-string quarterback, Bobby Campbell, another sophomore. He's from Hicksville, New York. Campbell, play action right away, and throws it away. Intended receiver was Richmond Flowers. Reggie Durden, the JC transfer in his first year in a Florida State uniform, on the coverage.
Campbell started 6 games last year for these Blue Devils in the 97 campaign. He played and started against FSU, sustained a separated shoulder, and was knocked out of the ballgame. One of 9 quarterbacks that left contest against Florida State last year.
Now, Campbell had started the season. He got hurt. The quarterback woes were huge last year for the Duke Blue Devils as they give to B.J. Hill. And Duke gaining some rare yards here against the Florida State defense. I mean, it started with really Romine and Campbell in a battle, if you'll remember, Keith. There was no B.J. Hill. There was a Latavius Wilkes, who we have not seen at all tonight. But the injuries just continued and continued. 4 quarterbacks in all were used last year by the Blue Devils. And a couple of years ago, David Green, their starting quarterback, was hurt in a game against Florida State. So a first down for B.J. Hill. He gets the football again and pulls his way up to the 46-yard line. A gain of 7 yards on the carry. He is stopped by Allen of Florida State. Brian, the sophomore.
Some new faces there for Florida State. That's mostly your second unit. Reynolds, Malone, Simon, Warren across the front. Rhodes, Allen, and Dion Humphrey in the backfield. There's Sean McCorkle, number 37. The DB's running in and out so quick, we'll try to get those to you as quick as we can.
Again, B.J. Hill, and he pulls his way ahead for another Duke first down. So Campbell comes in, hands it off to B.J. Hill, and the 4 yards good enough to move the chains, depending on the spot. Yep, he's got the first down yardage.
As soon as we talk about the second unit being in, about 7 of the first unit are sent back in after Duke converts their second first down of this series.
Ricky Andrews saw a little bit too much, too quick. B.J. Hill as
number 55 there, excuse me, Mike. Brian Allen seeing his first real playing time. Great prospect at the linebacker.
To the ground again. B.J. Hill breaks a couple of tackles and moves his way all the way near the 35-yard line. A 15-yard carry as Demetro Stevens finally makes the stop. Pardon me, that was Dwayne Epperson, the ball carrier, number 33. Hill wearing number 32. Epperson, the sophomore from Falls Church, Pennsylvania.
Epperson with 2 rushing touchdowns in the first 2 ball games.
Timeout called by the Duke Blue Devils. Pardon me, by Florida State. So defensively, Florida State wants to talk about the fact that Duke has moved the football with some rather evident ease here on the ground in the last couple of carries. For more insight into the Seminoles and sports in Florida, click on SunshineNetwork.com, offering news, notes, and opinions by some of the state's best sports columnists and reporters. SunshineNetwork.com, your web source for Florida sports.
Total yards with Duke having a good series this time with the ball. Total yards Duke a little over 100 at 105. FSU at 257. Coach Mickey Andrews there with a hat on, and one of the great defensive coordinators. In fact, won the inaugural Assistant Coach of the Year award 2 years ago.
Epperson tied up almost at the line of scrimmage by Florida State's strongest player, Jerry Johnson, the junior. Preseason Outland Candidate Award.
So I continue to be impressed with Jerry Johnson. Spent a little time during media day at the beginning of the season just listening and watching, staying quite far away because I didn't want him to get too close. He put those big arms around me, I'm going.
Johnson with 8 tackles on the night. Credited tackle, a shoestring tackle, if you will, on that play by Ronald Holden. Corey Simon will get credited for the tackle.
Duke putting together a good drive here, starting against the twos, or the second team against Florida State. Now most of the ones back in. You say Demetrius Stevens in there calling signal, starting middle linebacker.
3rd and 5. And stopped well short of the first down yardage. Corey Simon in to make the tackle again for Florida State.
Simon at 6'4", 275 pounds. Between Johnson, Smith, and Simon, 3 of the best defensive tackles Florida State probably ever had at the same time on the same team. Corey a junior, Smith a junior, Johnson a junior. Does that sound familiar?
It does indeed.
Only 10 seniors on this entire Florida State roster.
Now they're going to go for it on 4th down, trailing by 35 points. Epperson has carried the ball a couple of times recently. This time Wilson. Campbell checks off and completes the pass for the first down. A flag on the play thrown by the officials. It will be a first down. Tommy Pauly making the stop after the reception by Scotty Montgomery. We'll see who the call will go against on the 4th and 3.
High ball or what? Illegal procedure on the offense. 5 yards. Repeat 4th down.
I didn't see anybody move, Mike. I wonder if they only had 6 people on the line of scrimmage. You know, you've got to have 7 people on the line of scrimmage. That'll change Fred Goldsmith's thinking.
Lenhart in to attempt a long field goal.
You know, I saw the official right there. If you're reading lips, he said too many people in the backfield. I think that is exactly what the call was.
Kevin Thompson, the senior, the holder. Lenhart, 51-yard attempt. That is going to be well short. So Lenhart misses a long attempt again here this evening for the second time. And Goldsmith, the face filled with dejection there.
After that 94 year, though, Mike, Goldsmith given one of the top honors in college coaching. The 1994 Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year Award. Started 7-0 that campaign, came to Florida State, suffered their first loss, ended up with that 8-14, and an absolutely marvelous year in his inaugural season at Duke.
Now, he is a very upbeat man and has the reputation of being liked down in Durham, North Carolina. One change on the coaching staff for Duke this year is they do have a new offensive coordinator. Most remains the same as Durham, despite the struggles the last couple of years. Completed pass to Ron Dugan. A 20-yard gain for Dugan. Les Koning Jr. is the new offensive coordinator for which I was speaking. For the Duke Blue Devils, Bob Trott is still the defensive coordinator and still has nightmares every time he thinks about playing the Florida State Seminoles, who have racked up a lot of points against Trott's defensive units over the years.
I'll tell you what Goldsmith's been able to do, though, Mike, both of those coordinators have professional experience. They bring that professional attitude and scheme to this Duke program.
1st and 10, Florida State marching again. Wenke working from the 46, looking for it all. Over the middle. Minnis makes the catch inside the 5-yard line. With Lamar Grant right on him, Marcus Minnis with a 46-yard gain.
Snoop doing what he does best, Menace working across the middle. You're going to see him on the outside. Going to get a clear out, and then he's going to make that post route. Winky's working to his left, completely turns around, sets his feet appropriately, and delivers this very nice throw. Menace corrals it. Watch it. What nice footwork there by Winky. Great throw. Menace lays out to catch the ball. Snoop just wishes he was about 2 yards longer, and he'd had that 6.
Now he got all the way to the 3-yard line. Big average per catch for Marvin so far this young season. First and goal for the Noles. Menace touches up. The handoff. And the carry up to about the 2-yard line. Jeff Cheney in the football game and carrying for the first time this evening. He has had a good night on special teams.
Cheney, a sophomore, 6 foot, 200 pounds. And they've got another one behind him in Raymond Skaggs. 4 deep at the tailback position is Florida State, and that doesn't even include, as you mentioned earlier, Davey Ford, who is likely to take a medical red shirt this year. Coach Bowden looking on and probably is a little more pleased right now.
Second and goal for the Seminoles. From the 2. Cheney, the ball carrier again, and he is stuffed, and it will bring up a 3rd and goal situation. Let's go downstairs, check back in with Tom Block.
Well, not all the news is good for Florida State fans right now. They've got a commanding lead, but Tay Cody has been nicked up. This is Tay right behind me with his hands in his pockets, blue shirt. He got hurt on the very first series of the second half. He's got a bruise right above his right knee, and obviously he's finished for tonight. Hopefully that's not too serious, though, and he'll be back next week against USC. Mike?
Well, thank you very much, Tom, and indeed that is the hopes of all Florida State fans. Florida State, 6 for 12 on 3rd down tonight, 50%. They converted a 3rd and 12 for a touchdown a moment ago. Now they pitch. And a wide look into the end zone. Cheney scores. Seminoles rolling it up here at the home opener. All kinds of room right past the Blue Devils. Ronnie Hamilton, and Cheney scampers in from 2 out.
Florida State now in their 3rd tailback. He converts, gets his first Florida State touchdown. Has had an outstanding night on special teams, and now first career TD rushing.
Jeff Cheney rewarded for fine special teams play, and Janikowski perfect again on the PAT. 52-10, and that youngster likes what he sees, and Cheney has truly earned his carries here this evening.
Another look at it. Good upfield pressure by Duke, but the defensive end runs himself completely out of the play. Glenn makes a great block on him, and then the seam is just wide open, just waltz into the end zone. Another look at it coming right at you. Watch the nice block by Florida State tackle and fullback, and nobody feeling from the backside. Cheney walks in.
So Jeff Cheney with his first career touchdown for the Seminoles. Congratulations to Jeff, and who knows, he may actually make the tackle here on this kickoff if he's been able to do a lot tonight. Backup safety last year to Shevin Smith, and doing a nice job this evening.
There you see 49 ACC games, this being the 50th. Florida State scored 50 points 15 times, 30% of the time. And 3 of those have come against Duke, 97, 95, and 94.
Add tonight's 50th ACC game, that's 16 times, and 4 of those, 25% of them coming against the Duke Blue Devils.
Jimmy Hagan's there talking to Bowden. As you see him turn around, we saw Jimmy in the hallway yesterday. I had the privilege of playing with Jimmy. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Jimmy handles that offensive line. He and Coach Bowden probably talking about substitutions there. Who do you want to get in? Who do you want to see? What do you want to have happen? Jimmy's done an outstanding job with this offensive line this year. And Odell Higgins is likewise with his defensive tackles on the other side.
Well, the special teams in the second quarter in the forced turnovers. Good field position, kind of put this game away for the Seminoles at the half. But here in the third quarter, they have run their offense very effectively and efficiently. Montgomery back to the 20. Now up to the 27, spins ahead to the 30-yard line. A 33-yard return for Scotty Montgomery. A rare night off for one of the coaching bouts Tommy Bowden with the night off, and you would have told me through week 3 Tommy Bowden would be the only undefeated Bowden. I would have told you were kind of crazy, partner.
Absolutely. Virginia goes down to Auburn, whips Terry in his own backyard. Florida State drops one to NC State, and there's Tulane and Tommy Bowden sitting as the undefeated one. Miss Ann will bring that to everyone's attention, I can assure you. Ann Bowden, Coach Bowden's wife.
He has lots to be proud of. Last count I had 21 grandchildren for Robert and Ann Bowden. Maybe more by now. I have not kept track.
The youngest, I believe, is 4 days old.
Well, then
the newest, rather.
Then it would be more than 21. The night has come to an end for Spencer Romine. He started the game, and it will soon start for Marcus Outzen, at least we would assume, warming up on the sideline.
Marcus hurt during the spring, had a great fall camp. See his action.
The final seconds are going to come off the clock here in the third quarter, and Florida State with a commanding 52-10 lead. Billy Rhodes makes the play for Florida State, and the quarter comes to an end. The Seminoles in command here at home. The home opener 1998, and you are seeing it right here on Sunshine Network. Back to action here at Doak Campbell. Just underway here in the fourth quarter. Mike Goldberg, Keith Jones, Tom Block, glad you are with us. Good night for Chris Wenke.
Probably all we'll see of Chris tonight. Whatever was said at halftime, whatever it was, you need to bottle it and sell it to the rest of the Division I schools. Winkie was 5 of 7 for 146 yards and a touchdown in the third quarter alone. For the game, as he talks with Lavernius Coles and Marvin Menace there, 11 of 19 for 241 yards, 3 TDs, no INTs.
Checked off nicely, and Chris Wenke will gain confidence from this victory. He does know that he will have a big task next week here at home with the Trojans coming into town, and the storied games and the history of that rivalry will be one we'll have plenty of time to share with our viewers tomorrow on our Florida State replays, coming to you every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And Keith and I and Tom are honored to be here in Tallahassee all season long. Ball carrier Dwayne Epperson brought down by Dexter Jackson. So some of the first stringers still in defensively for the Noles, a gain of 10 yards on the carry and a Duke first down.
The majority of them still in, candidly, Mike, and Epperson with 2 great runs back-to-back. Duke down at the Florida State 36-yard line.
Duke came in as the top-ranked offense in the ACC. Florida State came in as the number 2 ranked offense. They had done a great job against the run of Duke for the early parts of the game. Finally starting to gain a little something on the run here in the fourth quarter, late third quarter. There's a troubled man on the football field. Corey Simon, I think he caught a finger. He may have caught a finger in a face.
Stop was made by number 53, Corey Simon, and number 40.
Credited for the stop, but he twisted something, Keith.
Either that or his left arm. He's holding that real close to his body. Hill now with 8 rushes for 23 yards. Epperson over 50 yards on the game.
2, second and 12.
Hill on the carry.
Wilkes, B.J. Hill, and Dwayne Epperson here in the late third quarter, and the early goings here in the fourth quarter so far, behind a offensive line with just 1 senior on it. Here's the play a moment ago. Watch 53.
Looks like he gets his elbow or his forearm caught. That's not good, I can tell you that from the reaction. Maybe even a finger. Doug Henderson there on your left, Randy Orvins at the foreground. Doug Henderson, Tom Haney, the orthopedic surgeon for Florida State.
Duke is 2 and 11 on third down. 3rd and 8. This is 2 of 12. Good coverage on the play by Cleveland Thomas. He was all over Richmond Flowers. And Richmond Flowers, Scotty Montgomery, 2 of the better receivers in the ACC, virtually silent here this evening.
We haven't even seen Rico Owens, who was injured Thursday in Duke's practice, tore ACL on the other leg. Had ACL repair surgery last season, now on the other leg, both of them. Little thin for the Blue Devils at the wide receiver position.
The 2 good ones to start, but then it falls off rather quickly from there. 4th down, they'll go for it again. 4th and 8. number 34. Checking off. Good catch made by Richmond Flowers right in front of Cleveland Thomas. And the Blue Devils convert. Gain of 15 yards. Brian Allen makes the stop and shoots first down in Florida State territory.
Thomas in for, as Tom Block talked about, the injured Tate Cody. He'll be at the top of your screen. Three-step quick drop, little hitch pattern. Thomas comes up and just tries to go for the ball instead of going for the man. And that's the youth. He's a sophomore. Fourth down, you tackle the guy. You don't worry about the interception.
Bobby Campbell running the offense, and he is hit on the play. Jamal Reynolds and Roland Seymour in on the sack and a loss of 9 yards. Goes against Bobby Campbell and Duke. Reynolds led the way.
Reynolds with 5 tackles on the year coming into the night. 6'4", 240-pound sophomore. Gets a lot of playing time behind Tony Bryant, the senior. There you see Corey Simon on the sideline. They're looking at that hand. It looks like maybe something around the eye or the facial area, but it looks like an arm to me.
Second and 17. They keep it on the ground again. David Warren in to help on the tackle. Let's try to get an injury update from Tom Block.
Unfortunately, Corey Simon's been plagued by injuries in his Florida State career. The latest is a hyperextended elbow, I'm told, so that's why he's out, and they're working with him right now.
Now, there is not a lot of depth on the interior, and Larry Smith is already hurt. So that is bad news with Corey Simon with the hyperextended elbow. And you go all the way to Billy Rhodes, who last week was a fullback. Now he's a nose guard. He's going to have to play some football here in the closing moments. 2 for 12 on third down. Duke has really struggled. This is a 3rd and 16. Pressure on, incomplete. Great pressure once again applied. David Warren, number 99, was one of the guys in there, the sophomore from Tyler, Texas.
Warren with a preseason episode, some type of seizure in which he scared the daylights out of his teammates. Spent a couple of days in the hospital trying to figure out what the reason was. He's going to come, I believe, from the bottom of your screen. Number 99 just blows by the tackle, much like Wadsworth and company of years gone by. I'll meet you at the quarterback.
43-yard field goal attempt for Sims Lenhart. His kick is up, and Lenhart connects. He has missed 2 on the night. He has made 2. And Lenhart gives Duke 3 more points. It is 52-13. 10.5 minutes remains here in the 4th quarter. A long night for Fred Goldsmith and his Duke Blue Devils. Corey Simon has headed to the Florida State locker room. We hope that the hyperextended elbow will not be serious. Florida State in serious command of this telecast. 52-13. There goes big Corey Simon.
Heck of a football player, and I'll tell you that hyperextended elbow, that's a painful injury, and not one you want with your defensive people, because they're always in contact, they're always pulling, there's always pressure.
Easter and Coles are back deep. Freddie Goldsmith knew, because he mentioned it earlier this week, that they would face the best that Florida State had to offer. It's not really a lot of fun if you're the Duke team, who I think most of his coaches said last year are always playing against bigger and stronger teams, especially in Florida State's case.
Florida State's last home loss in 1991, wide right 1. And of course, the miraculous tie, 31-31. 28 points scored in the 4th quarter, greatest comeback in NCAA history. Quite a, for a younger program, 52 years now, quite a storied history here with Doak S. Campbell Stadium, Mike.
Way back to Doak's dominance, 17 straight victories. Since 86, only 4 losses here at Doak Campbell. 62-4-2, the record. In 22 years, 16 home losses in the Bobby Bowden era. Marcus Outzen in to play quarterback.
Marcus seeing his first playing time last week. Talking with Mark Rick. He did some good things. One particular drive, he was in there against North Carolina State in the latter part of the 3rd quarter. Showed some great promise.
Cheney is in the backfield. 10.5 minutes on the clock. Outzen gives to Cheney. He bounces off a would-be tackler and is knocked down at the line of scrimmage.
Still got a number of your starters on the offensive line up there. Brandon Whitaker, Thomas Carmichael, and Carlos Thomas. Robert Morgan, very highly touted wide receiver, freshman. Florida State playing a lot of people, as is their custom.
Wilson will work it after the 1-yard gain by Chaney. Wilson pitches. Chaney fakes the reverse. Keeps it on the right side. Chaney moving. Great feet. Inside the 40. Knocked out of bounds at the 36-yard line. Lavernius Coles fakes the handoff in the backfield. Kenan Hawley finally made the stop. A 35-yard scamper for Jeff Chaney.
You'll see what Chaney sees once he makes this corner. There's nobody out there. Nice seal blocking by the line and the tight ends, and Chaney's just off to the races.
Duke bit a little.
Very much so. Kenan Hawley has to come across and save the touchdown. Fake reverse to Coles, and then Chaney just tucks it under the old arm, and away he goes with the pumpkin.
Good gainer all the way to the 37-yard line of the Blue Devils. Chaney has looked good tonight. This time Outson rolls right, tips it up and over the defender and into the hands of Florida State's Patrick Hughes, the freshman tight end. And he was stopped on the play by Todd DeLamielleure.
Hughes out of Nacogdoches, Texas. Good play action here. Guard pulls around. Number 71, Jerry Carmichael. Outson set. A little bit of a dangerous throw. Mike has to get up over LaMalliere, or the other defender. LaMalliere comes across for the tackle, but Hughes with his first reception.
Gain of 6 yards and a 2nd and 4. We're spreading the wealth here tonight. They go with Chaney. A big hole blown through the middle by the offensive line. And another Florida State first down. 8 yards on the carry, and Kenan Hawley once again, the left cornerback, forced to make the stop.
You know, with the 24 points in the first half, Mike, Florida State only had 6 first downs because of those turnovers and explosiveness of the offense. Florida State now building a drive here with the 2s, trying to get some continuity, playing time, experience. Outson leading the way.
Ryan McCormick limping off the field for Duke, number 99 a moment ago. He's replaced as the Seminoles work from the 23-yard line. They again go via the ground. Chaney on the carry, a gain of maybe 3. Brian McCormick, we're getting the note up here in the announce booth, was one of those guys who suffered from the food poisoning, so he has been weakened, as has Chris Combs. And this Duke defense isn't bad, but they're not deep, that's for sure. And to lose guys like McCormick and Combs is a tough blow. McCormick, a starting linebacker, and Combs, the star for the front side of the defensive unit of the Duke Blue Devils. Outson fakes the pitch. Pressure coming from his backside. Moves it to the left. Keeps it himself. And he's forced out of bounds at the 17-yard line. It'll bring up about a 3rd and 3. Kendrell Knight, a sophomore from Wilson, North Carolina, makes the stop. Pressure from the backside, Keith.
This was designed to be thrown. Nothing's open. Rooster has no problem tucking it under his arm and going after it. Cannon Shepard in pursuit. Outson at 6'2", 220 pounds. May not stick it up there like Danny Kendra will, but he'll get you some yardage when you need it.
A 3rd and 3 for Outson in the Knolls. Inside the 20. And falling off the snap was Outson. May have been stepped on by one of his offensive linemen, or may have tripped over his running back, Jeff Chaney. Nonetheless, Janikowski comes in.
Footwork's so important for a quarterback. We talked about it with Winky throwing the ball. It's just as important for play action. Watch Outson get that left foot stepped on or tucked under Chaney. And in college, as everyone knows, you go down the play in.
So Sebastian Janikowski comes in for a 40-yard field goal attempt. The lefty boots it, and Janikowski is good. Florida State adds on to an already commanding lead. They lead 55-13. Janikowski good again. Outson still disappointed. 7:22 remains in the fourth quarter. We hope you will stick around with us the remainder of the evening. We have a great virtual replay we will show you on our post-game show tonight of the improvement of Chris Weinke from the first 2 weeks to tonight, finding the receiver, looking him off, and making the proper throw. That's on our Sunshine Network exclusive college football virtual replays, which we will bring you on our Florida State and Florida Gator replays throughout this fall.
One of the things you've got to take note of, even though Weinke has not played here in the fourth quarter, through the first 3 quarters, if you look at the first and second and compare it to the third, what a growth in confidence. Footwork where it needs to be, making the good decisions, throwing the ball, the conversations that took place at halftime, the greatness, forgive me folks, the greatness of this Florida State staff in making halftime adjustments really showing in Weinke's performance in Florida State.
Chris Keith, as we've mentioned throughout the game, and another big boot by Janikowski here, it really was the special teams, the opportunistic offense of the Seminoles, which broke this game away from a 10-10 tie, the long 97-yard return by Coles. But in the third quarter, a little bit more traditional, if you will, offensive starting position, and then Florida State marching down the field with authority.
Well, and I think that's pretty interesting because Coach Bowden said going into the A&M game, you just want to win. He said this year we're treating it like the first game of the year again. All we want to do is win, get some confidence back. Kicking game, special teams did that early on here.
Duke starting from the 20-yard line. Kevin Thompson is now in at quarterback, so we've gone 3 deep for the Duke Blue Devils, and everybody getting a piece tonight. Kevin Thompson last year was the guy who played most of the evening against Florida State. Larry Beckish was the offensive coordinator then. In 97, David Green hurt his ankle on the 4th play of the game, and no one hurt tonight but Bobby Campbell and Spencer Romine ineffective, and so Kevin Thompson is going to get to take some snaps. He's a junior from Thomasville, Georgia. He hands it off to the freshman V.J. Hill out of Detroit, who in his Duke debut ran for a Duke debut record 121 yards against Western Carolina.
In fact, Hill was the ACC Rookie of the Week in that particular game. You know, you talk about Thompson, Thomasville, Georgia, only 33 miles to the north here in Tallahassee, and they've produced a fair number of great athletes, one of which Florida State fans will remember well, Charlie Ward. And they play some great high school football up there.
Just a comparison of the first 3 weeks for Duke. In week 1, 304 yards of total offense against Western Carolina as Lynch moved. Northwestern was a big day for the offense for Duke. 44 points, 575 yards of total offense. And then through 3 quarters tonight, Goldsmith's team with just 134 yards of offense generated.
Florida State without a score in 3 quarters against North Carolina State. First quarter of this one, in the last 3 quarters, 2 quarters and 2/3, 55 points. There you see the total yardage comparison.
3rd and 12 now. Thrown up for grabs, well incomplete. Good coverage on the play by Florida State's Troy Saunders. So you talked a moment ago about the guy from Thomasville, Georgia. Let's just remember his rookie year didn't start out that well.
As a junior, you see there Duke, Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest, Miami, North Carolina. You can add up the right column quicker than me. But he finished his career, did Charlie Ward, with the record low interception percentage for Florida State. Threw 31 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions in 1993 as a senior on his way to the Heisman Trophy.
Another punting situation for Duke with 5.5 minutes on the clock. 7th punt of the night for Morton, averaging a little over 40 yards per kick.
Great kick.
It drives Peter Warwick way back. Peter finally trying to corral it inside the 15-yard line. Uh-oh. Have they overrun the coverage, though? Warwick back up to the 50. Big block thrown! And Warwick held up at the 42. An absolutely huge block thrown on Brian Morton. Wow! 54-yard punt, 32-yard return, and Morton is shaken up.
At the tail end of this play, beginning with Warwick kind of muffing it a little bit. Great punt by Morton. Drives Warwick back. Pete finally grabs the ball. He'll head to his right. We'll try to confirm it, but watch number 17, I believe, the punter. Watch Larry Smith, I believe, number 96, if we've got the right number. Warwick in the open there on the left-hand side. Woo! That's a decleater. Florida State in business at the 43.
Wow. Just wanted to get in and hit somebody. And that they did. Florida State, after a big return by Peter Warwick, again with good field position. Here's the hit again.
Another look at it. Offensive linemen have what's called a decleater. Defensive linemen have a knock 'em out. That'll qualify for both. Another angle. Watch Morton, the punter. Number 99, is that David Warren?
Yeah, David Warren.
Called him Smith. Actually, David Warren hustling on special teams.
Just a kicker, guys. Go easy on him.
All I do is just put my feet into the ball. I don't have to run around after anybody.
That's a heck of a kick, too. Timeout called by Florida State, their third and final timeout. 4:43 officially on the clock. Warren with a big rocker a moment ago on the man they call Boomer. Well, next week's schedule looks like this. Duke will be at Virginia, Temple at Maryland, and then the game that you will see in our Seminoles replay on Sunday night, the Trojans and the Seminoles right here from Doak Campbell. Georgia Tech travels to Chapel Hill to take on the Tar Heels of North Carolina, who are expecting another good season, although they were upset in week 1 by the Miami of Ohio Redhawks of the Mid-American Conference.
Little prejudice and affinity there, Mr. Goldberg?
A slight bit indeed, partner. Here's Cheney, lots of room, cuts inside the 15, down to the 70-yard line, finally dragged down, turning into a big night for Jeff Cheney. Bray with a good lead block, and finally Darius Clark brought him down after a gain of 31 yards on the carry.
Another look at it, nothing fancy. Cheney just tucking that ball under his left arm this time. We saw him under the right arm earlier. Good downfield blocking. We won't note the hold there by Stringer. Cheney picks up 6 or 7 more.
9 carries, 82 yards for Jeff Cheney. First and goal from the 6. Outson works it from the eye. Pitches to Cheney. Fakes the reverse. Nothing but end zone in the corner. Touchdown, Florida State. Second touchdown of the night for Jeff Cheney.
There's a young man that has earned his playing time. For first 2.5 quarters on special teams, finally getting a chance to run from the number 3 tailback position. 10 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Janikowski on for the point after attempt. Florida State scores its 62nd point of the evening, all of them after going scoreless in the first quarter. Another look at it from the offense. Just a simple pitch. Watch the nice block by McCray out front. Fake the reverse. All you got to do is seal off, wall off, and Cheney waltzes into the end zone. Good blocking at the point of attack. Heaven in there. Folks grabbing and pulling, and Cheney sprinting to the end zone. I've got to be very pleased with Mike for this young man. He's worked so hard during the first 2.5, almost 2 3/4 on special teams. Now here he is with 88 yards rushing. Florida State's leading rusher. Florida State up 62-13.
Well, this is kind of what we expected, about a margin of victory that has been a little over the average of 35 points for the Noles tonight. We'll go to 4-0 at Doak against these Duke Blue Devils. 50-16, the average victory in these matchups. And next is Southern California. Things don't get much easier for the Duke Blue Devils as they continue to be road warriors. This is the second straight road game, a span of 5 of 6 road games. 5 of their first 7 away from Durham, in fact, including last week their victory at Ryan Field in Evanston, Illinois. At Virginia next week. This is still a pretty young team, Pete. In Duke, just 4 seniors and 12 juniors starting, and then a handful of sophomores and redshirt freshmen. But it's a team in a rebuilding mode, and there will always be the question, is Duke takes the football in the end zone, and Flowers seeks it there. Is how competitive can a team that has won 5 straight academic achievement awards, one of the finest academic institutions in America, ranked now behind the likes of Yale and Harvard only, how competitive can Freddie Goldsmith be in this day and age of big-time college football?
Well, I think the scholarship reduction, like 85 per team, is going to help Duke, because some of those marginal athletes that might go somewhere else will go to Duke because they are great students. And I tell you, when everything is said and done, as you see the handoff there, when everything's said and done, Duke has won 9 national championships since 1981 when it comes to academics. And you've got to take part in that. You've got to be proud of that for that institution, the ACC in general. And it does make it difficult. If there's one individual that has the best chance to make that work in a football program, it's probably Fred Goldsmith, with his demeanor and just the way he conducts himself.
Number 3 quarterback on the night, still in. Just over 3 minutes remaining. I love the quote 1 year ago when we were visiting with Bob Trott, the defensive coordinator of the Duke Blue Devils. He was mentioning how they practice at Duke, and he said, you got to be careful to yell at your players, because 10 years from now, they may be performing surgery on you.
Exactly.
99% of Duke graduates are accepted into medical school, into graduate programs, into law school. It is unbelievable. The young men that are produced in Durham, North Carolina, most of them already great young men when they get there. And to Florida State's credit, amongst the honorable mentions for academic achievements, Florida State has had their handful of mentions in the last 5 to 10 years also. It's Bobby Bowden and his staff stress football. They also stress the fact that you guys are student athletes, student coming first.
Well, one of the great players in Florida State history left last year, and Darrell Bush. We talked about leadership and how much he meant. Florida State's second 2-time first-team academic All-American is Darrell Bush. And I'm a little prejudiced, and I always bring that up every time I can, because I'll let you guess who the first 2-time academic All-American was.
Let me think. Did he wear number 28?
He might have.
He might have. Was he about 3 feet from him?
He definitely is.
Heath Jones. Something to be proud of, and something that Bobby always talks to their players about. There is so much pressure to win on the football field here at Florida State.
Coach Bowden in his 23rd year, Mike, 209 victories to 10 tonight, 52 losses and 4 ties.
We will go to 21-2 in home openers. And head coach Mike O'Kane and NC State will at least not be the first thing on the minds of everyone here in Tallahassee and throughout the nation who loves the Seminoles, at least for a few days.
And don't you love college football? NC State whips FSU 24-7. They drop a heartbreaker to Baylor 33-30 tonight.
Duke wins last week 44-10 against Northwestern. They trail 62-13 here this evening at Doak Campbell.
Another great punt.
Morton was rocked, but not rocked enough. There are flags down on the field. Feaster on the return. Skips ahead to about the 38-yard line. A 46-yard punt by Brian Morton. And we'll see R.J. Soward next week of the Trojans of USC. He's one of the best in the nation.
I tell you, when you think about the Florida State program, and Peter Tom and I were talking about that after we did our little halftime feature. You think about the program at Florida State. Did you ever think 25 years ago, as you see Mickey Andrews, that University of Southern California Trojans would visit Tallahassee, Florida in a home-and-home series, and Florida State would be favored? Quite a remarkable ascension the last 25 years here at FSU under Coach Bowden. 23
Holding
to be technical.
On the kicking team, the penalties decline. First down.
Now a total of 50 plays run tonight by the Florida State offense for 422 total yards, averaging over 8 yards per play. And here is how the breakdown has happened. 21 passes, 39 rushes for Florida State. And Duke 42 rushes, just 18 pass attempts, averaging under 3 yards per play. The defense has been good. Rushes over 100 yards, and a lot of that came, a bit of it against the second unit in the late third quarter and early in the fourth. Epperson with those big carries, Keith.
And despite the block against Cottrell that led to Duke's first points, return yardage, Duke at 147 total return yards, 140 of them on kickoff, 7 punt return. Florida State, 228 yards return yardage, 121 of them coming on kickoff, including that 97-yard touchdown.
Minute and a half on the clock. Outson still in there. And young men who do not see playing time as frequently as others try to earn playing time for the future. It may seem like, for lack of a better term, garbage time to some, but it is meaningful time for a young man like Marcus Outson, because the coaches will watch this tape and see how he handles himself in this situation.
It's these types of situations that determine how much playing time Outson may get on down the road. How did he handle the opportunity he had against Duke, and then how will he respond if he gets the opportunity, likely respond on down the road?
So under a minute now remains. And a fourth down punting situation coming up for Florida State. Latavius Wilkes struck first, and as Bobby said to Tom Block after the first half, things didn't look too good very early, and then I think maybe some of the anxiety that the Noles had after a very, very emotional week started to wear off. Janikowski hit from 35 yards out, and then after a Sean Key interception, Peter Warwick, his first of 2 touchdown receptions on the night, answered by Sims Lenhart, and a 51-yard field goal at career best. It was 10-10, and then all of a sudden it was all Noles. Coles 97 yards on a kickoff return for touchdown. Minor with a 17-yard catch from that man, Chris Wenke, who has quieted the critics at least for a week. Florida State with a commanding victory here tonight in the 98 home opener, 62-13. McCorkle fired up, giving his quarterback some well-deserved praise.
Billy Smith there escorting Coach Bowden. Saw Billy in the atrium yesterday. Mike, you were with me. He's been doing this since 1964. Started with Bill Peterson, worked his way all the way through, and now in his 23rd year. Just kind of hanging around, make sure nothing bad happens to the head coach.
Fred Goldsmith, a tough evening here in Tallahassee.
Very tough evening.
They fall to 0-7 lifetime against the Florida State Seminoles. He knew he was going to run into a buzzsaw this evening. There's no question about that.
He's certainly fearful of it. And again, as he alluded to in the Wednesday ACC coaches conference call, just expressed how much respect they had for the Florida State program. One of the neat things about college football, as you notice there, Clint Purvis, the chaplain for Florida State, with both teams gathered around him. Great deal of respect between these schools, but they get after it for the 60 minutes that the time clock is running.
If there are concerns, it will be of the conditions of Corey Simon and Tay Cody. Both guys had to leave the game tonight due to injuries. Cody early in the second half, and Simon with the hyperextended elbow also in the third quarter. So Wenke with a good job this evening. A 2-touchdown night for Travis Minor, Peter Warwick, and Jeff Cheney. 3 touchdowns thrown on the evening by the quarterback, Chris Wenke. Tom?
We're here now with Chris Wenke, as you just talked about his statistics. Chris, how does it feel, first of all, after last week to come out, most importantly, get a win, but also play well?
I think it was important for us to bounce back. Obviously, there was going to be a little pressure on me this week to come out and see if I could bounce back. This team responded as good as any team can respond. Came here and played in front of our crowd, and it's tough to beat us in our backyard. And I think the overall performance by the offense, defense, and kicking game was tremendous today.
How tough was this past week for you personally, going through what you had to go through with the phone calls and whatnot?
Anytime you lose a game as a quarterback around here, it's going to be tough. I tried to block all that out. The biggest thing for me was just to focus on what was ahead and forget about what was in the past, and I felt like I did a good job of that. We're leaving here tonight with a victory, and that's the most important thing.
What felt different to you on the field in terms of just staying in control and staying calm, not overthrowing?
Well, when I look back at last week, there wasn't anything that I felt like I was nervous or uncomfortable. I just was missing my target. I told myself to just relax, I actually took some off my ball tonight, and I got it to where I wanted it to go. Some guys made some great catches for us. The line protected as good as they could protect. And we mixed in a running game that really helped our passing game. So really, there was no one factor, I think. I did feel comfortable tonight, though.
Good dose of confidence for you and the rest of the team after this tonight.
No question about it. We needed this big win, and we're going to keep going from here week by week.
Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris Weinke, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns tonight. Mike, back upstairs.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, and a great work done by Tom Block again on the sideline. And I'll tell you what, Weinke, the improvement from a week ago, humongous. We'll have virtual replay looks at Weinke's strong night this evening. One of 2 touchdown receptions by Peter Warrick there. Florida State wins big, 62-13. We're back to Tallahassee with much more. Florida State Seminoles football on Sunshine Network is brought to you in part by Nokia, connecting people. Connections made frequently by Chris Weinke to Travis Minor and Peter Warrick tonight. Florida State does what they are expected to do, dominate the Duke Blue Devils. The final score once again, 62-13. Our Sunshine Network virtual replay shows Weinke's effectiveness here in Tallahassee tonight.
Well, we showed you a play as we opened the show about Chris throwing a would-be interception against A&M. Watch his feet work. We're set right now. We'll go virtual. He's got defenders in front of him, only a small lane to throw the ball from. Then we'll hook back around. You'll see you've got one-on-one coverage. That's Peter Warrick in red, Lamar Grant in white. That is what Chris is looking at. As we pan back around and we go back to the real time, you'll see Warrick with a great over-the-right shoulder catch. Great throw by Weinke. That's exactly what he has to do. Get in the seam of those offensive linemen and then deliver that ball to one-on-one coverage over the outside, over the inside shoulder.
So once again, the final score, Florida State wins 62-13. And it has been a good home opener here for 1998 for the Seminoles. For my partner Keith Jones and Tom Block on the sideline, and our fine crew who worked ever so hard this evening to bring you the pictures and the audio from Tallahassee, I'm Mike Goldberg saying so long. We'll see you next Sunday night on our Seminole replay of the Trojans and the Noles right here only on Sunshine. So long, everybody.